Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Chaos Child. We're looking at a quiet opening as we've been invited to the ultimate showdown with with one of the killers who has been revealed to be our father. Yes, that's right. It's a showdown with our father. The nice, gentle doctor is apparently a crazed serial killer who set this all up. Imagine adopting people. Imagine adopting several young children for the sole purpose of murdering them 6 years later. You raise them up and you're like, yep, I'm just raising them to butcher them like fucking cattle. Pretty crazy guy, but here we are. Alright. Each time I took a breath, more cold, nasty sweat poured out of my body. What was going on? What the hell was happening? I've been asking myself the same question for a long time now. Can you stand? Sharika slowly offered me her hand. Her voice was different, but it was the same Sarika. Same voice actor, but it's a very different tone. Yeah. I went to grab her hand to stand up like I always did. And then I smacked it away without thinking. No, that's not what you want to do. My head was still a mess from everything that happened, but I could still feel my temperature rising. I thought once more of my sister's death, and my rage was just barely enough to support me. I stood up and glared at Sarika. The urge to vomit had left me at some point. That's right, she killed Nono. And we kind of just let her walk off. Sarika held the hand I knocked away close. She looked back at me. Why? Why are you looking at me like that? Like you're hurt? There was nothing else I could do. Nono Cruz knew who I was. Hey, how many dead bodies did you miss? There was one a stream for a couple days. We're only oh wait, the next video is being uploaded tonight, I think? No, tomorrow. It's every other day a video gets uploaded. What's on YouTube available right now? Yeah, there's 2 murders. We're 2 murders behind on YouTube right now. 2 whole murders, because there was 2 murders. The video that's going up in 2 days is gonna be one of them, and the video that's up in the next 2 days is gonna be no. What?
私は私のままでお前を生存させ続けなければいけなかった。そのためには彼女が邪魔だった。
I had to keep you alive without being mind controlled. She was in the way. That's right. Nono's just intelligent enough to be in the way. Without warning, her body floated up and slammed into a nearby wall. There wasn't even time to think about it. I used my power without realizing I'd done so. The hell are you talking about? You 2 are best friends.
友人ではない。私には友人など一人もいない。
We aren't friends. I have no friends. She knew what I was thinking.
それが私の能力だ。私はこの能力でお前を守り続けてきた。
My ability, I used it to keep you safe.
お前に生み出されてからずっとだ。
Ever since you created me. Keep me safe. Yeah, you're pretty bad at this whole keeping him safe. I'll just murder your friends. That seems reasonable. I'm not lying. Stop lying. What? Why are you smiling?
相変わらずだ。自分にとって望まない情報が出てくると、まず逃避から入るんだな。
It never changed, do you? Whenever you encounter information you don't like, your first instinct is to run away, is it? Isn't it?
幼い頃から変わっていない。
You haven't changed. It hasn't changed a bit since you were little. Your first instinct is to run away. Stop.
私を生み出した時もそうだった。
It was like that when you made me. Stop.
私はお前に生み出された存在。
You
そ
created
し
me
て
and
お前を生き延びさせること。
keeping you
それ以
alive
外
was the
は
only thing that
私
mattered.
にとって
Nothing else
二の
was
次なん
important.
だ。
おい、くだらない思い出話なら死んでからやれ。
You can talk about the old times after you're dead. Is that a threat, or is she telling him to hurry the fuck up and move on with your life? There was a low, fierce voice. It came from Kunosato. She went over to Sarika, grabbed her by the neck, and slammed her into the wall. You'll just conjure a sword in your chest, right?
文句はないよな。
You don't mind, do you? I can hear a horrible creaking sound coming from Sarika's neck. Does she actually have the physical strength to strangle someone with her bare hands? That actually requires a lot of grip strength. Maybe she couldn't breathe because her mouth looked like it was grasping her. I don't know if Kunosato can actually kill her with that kind of attack. It would actually be better for Kunosato to just, like, elbow her in the throat, crushing her windpipe. Because it's actually, like, a lot of work to crush someone's throat with your bare hands. You can't just, like, up and do this on a whim. You actually can't. Those girls are crazies. Dude, Sarika... Dude, you need to... If you missed a couple videos, here, I'll see if I can upload the next one a little bit faster. You need to check that out. They're fucking crazy. She literally chopped one of your sisters... She literally had, like, one of your sisters chopped into pieces and offered to you in a bunch of present boxes. Like, she's fucking crazy. Kill her. She's gonna kill people. Just kill her. She's like down with killing all your friends. She's probably gonna kill you at some point. I wouldn't trust that shit. Yeah. Yeah, her and the guy she's working with that are behind all the murders. All the murders. And she's like actually involved. If you don't remember from the previous video, she's actually was present and was like the one helping cut up the guy's arm in the first video. Yeah, maybe she couldn't breathe because her mouth looked like it was gasping for her. Again, really hard to strangle someone like this. Probably wouldn't succeed because you have to actually crush their windpipe with your hand.
二の次のやつには何をしても構わないんだろう。
What you many people think means you can do whatever you want to the people who don't matter, right?
やめなさい、ミオちゃん。
Stop it, Mio. Mio Kunosato being ineffective and only slowly attempting to squeeze the life from someone. If you don't crush their windpipe like this, it's not gonna kill them.
黙れ。私は
You
こい
need
つ
to
を。
hold this for about... You need to hold the intensity enough to stop her from breathing for about 6 to 8 minutes straight. Even if she passes out, she's easily got like 5-6 minutes before she's actually taking brain damage. She's usually got like almost perfect brain damage.
思考がめちゃくちゃだ。
That's not like you. Your thoughts are amiss. It's like your whole head's
頭の
boiling.
中が
You should be
沸騰
holding
している
her
ようだし
and then just knifing her to death. This bare hand strat is never going to work, Kunosato. She has to pass out and you have to hold that for several minutes. Like killing someone by smothering them. You can't just... You don't just wait until they stop moving. You have to hold it for a few minutes.
何
Your thoughts are a mess. Your whole head is boiling over. What?
私は委員会に協力していたが属してはいない。お前のアメリカ時代の件とは無関係だ。
I helped the committee. I never belonged to... I have nothing to do with what happened to you in America. You just work for the same organization.
勝手に私の心を読むな。
Stop reading my mind. Stop thinking about that. Kunosato's hands dug deeper into Sarika's throat. Again, I'm not feeling tension because the character's still conscious.
何を言っ
What are
て
you
る？
talking about? Thinking about it.
お前が考えるから
That's why I can see
私に
it.
伝わってしまうんだ。
Okay. So generally you have like, if you're actually being strangled or put in a sleeper hold, you have less than a minute. So actually holding a conversation doesn't really work, which is why this and most movies that do this are pretty inaccurate. You generally can't just talk forever where you're being strangled. Alright.
まあ考えるなと言っても無理か。白熊効果を直に感じたのは初めてだな。
Well, I guess it's impossible not to think of something like that. I've never really seen the white bear effect for myself like this before. White bear effect, a strange phenomenon observed in human thought. People who are told to suppress thoughts or not remember certain things actually think and remember more strongly than people who are not subjected to such suppression. The name white bear comes from an experiment where subjects were shown a photograph of a white bear and told not to think about it.
お前別にバカにしているわけじゃない。手を離してくれないか。
Okay, listen, your little strangle trick doesn't work. Please just, like, break a couple of her... Just, like, break her kneecaps or something, okay? Like, regardless of whether or not she can read your thoughts, if you're stronger and faster than her, you're probably okay. Just grab a knee, grab a leg, do a good old stomp while she's on the ground, right through the knee. Super painful, and then she doesn't really have any mobility to escape you. And she can't go around killing people efficiently because her knee is fucking busted. You can't walk, you can't run up to people and do horrible shit to them, so that'd be a good start. And, like, just be like, well, we need to make sure she wouldn't run away again. We know she's a flight risk, and we're not a fucking cop. We don't even have fucking handcuffs. Broken knees work pretty well. But this is purely being played up for drama, which is fine. Even Sarika's like, you're not actually choking me out. Just take your fucking hands off me already.
目的は
I told you
話
I'm
を
here to
す
help.
ることだと言っただろ
If you want, I'll tell you everything I know about the
う。
committee.
望むなら
She just said she's not a member, so she doesn't know anything.
知っ
But
て
here
い
we
るだ
go.
け話してやる。
I'll tell you everything I know.
有村がいれば本当のことかどうか。
Armor's help, you can know if what I'm saying is true, right? Can you, though? We don't know the power of your mind control, so you could easily just lie to Arimura or force her to say it's true to anything. You guys can do, like, basically anything, because you have mind control on the table. That seems like a really dumb thing to do, but okay. Sarika glanced at Arimura. Arimura took a frightened step back and then looked at the two of them. Kunosada let go violently. Her hands were shaking and there were red marks on Sarika's throat, so basically, she doesn't have the grip strength to strangle someone properly. Bit unfortunate, but that's why people don't usually use their hands to strangle people. It's really hard to do. Definitely a bit hard to breathe though, but she didn't pass out, and you have like less than 20 seconds. I believe you have less than 30 seconds before you pass out like that. If it catches you suddenly, it can be really short. As if you're strangling someone, right? They actually just don't get any blood to their brain, right? Like when you hold your breath. When you hold your breath underwater, you can hold your breath underwater for longer than when you're being strangled, because the blood just gets more and more deoxygenated, but it's still you're still getting oxygen in your brain. It's just like less oxygen. If you're strangling someone properly, you're cutting off the blood flow to their brain, so they don't actually get any, and that's why you pass out really quickly. But we're not doing that, and they lasted a while. Look at me. Look at me. Knowing basic medical science. Kunosada took a long breath to calm herself down.
今回の事件を含めて
Tell me everything you know.
こちらが聞いたことに関して全て話せ。自分で言った通り有村がいる以上嘘をついても無駄だ。
We don't know where Mr. Mind Control is. He could literally be out the window mind controlling you right now. Anyway, tell me everything you know, including what you know about the case. Like you said with Arimura here, there's no point in trying to lie.
ああ
Mr. Mind Control can also leave seeds in people's brains, so even if she tries to tell the truth, she could just randomly explode, or she could just randomly have like a mental breakdown trying to remember the name of the guy, if that was what he wanted.
それから今のように私の思考を読んで会話をするな。頭の中が能力者に覗かれていると思うと。
Don't read my thoughts when you talk. But I think of a psychic looking at the inside of my head, it makes me sick.
わかった。それで構わないか。
Fine, is that okay with you? I mean, how would you know anyway? Sarika suddenly looked at me. I couldn't speak. Why was she asking me?
知りたいんだろう、真実を。
You want to know the truth, right? More important than the truth, stopping baddies, but okay. What?
お前
What?
は新聞部の部室でいろいろな仮説を立てては事件の全容を追っていた。確かにいいところまで言っていたが、最後に間違えた。
You came up with a lot of theories in the newspaper club room, and as you tried to figure out the case, you got pretty far, but you made a mistake at the end.
佐久間や組織の存在に気づくことができなかった。
You weren't able to find out about Sakuma or his organization. I made a mistake. What was the mistake? We screwed up at the end, assuming that there was another person, but even I said that was stupid. It was like plot-induced stupidity from our normally very paranoid protagonist suddenly deciding, fuck it, things are over.
私がすべて知っている。お前がずっと追ってきた事件のすべてを。
I know everything. Everything about the case you spent so much time trying to figure out. Her words made me angry. It was as if she was going to tell me everything as a favor.
バカにするなよ。僕はもう事件のことなんて。
Don't insult me. I don't care about the case anymore.
何？
Sarika seemed surprised. What difference did it make now? Yui and No were gone because I tried to solve the case. They weren't coming back.
復讐なんて絶対に考えないで。危険なことはしないで。
Don't think about revenge. Don't do anything dangerous.
何もかも忘れて、他の人と同じ日常を、だけど埋もれないように、強く、しっかりと過ごしていってください。
Forget everything and live the life everyone else does, but don't get buried in the crowd. That's pretty hard. You're dead, he's going to jail for the rest of his life. It's gonna be rough. I mean, I think like serial killers in Japan probably getting the death penalty. He's not gonna live much of a life. He's gonna live a life for 2 years and die. Yeah, we are super fucked. So the police have us as wanted in the case. The police have us as wanted on the case. And yeah, things are pretty bad. I don't think it's gonna go very well for us. We can't just be like drop the case and live our life assuming no more murders happen. I'm not gonna do anything else that's dangerous.
クルス・ノノのせいか。
So it's Carusa's fault? I mean, Carusa's pretty controlling. She has a death grip on us from beyond the grave. Yeah, pretty much. And she's dead now, so we kind of want to follow her last wish. You could almost blame yourself for that. Ah, she's reading my thoughts again.
心配しなくても、私がお前を危険な目に遭わせない。むしろ、お前が危ないことをしないでくれると助かる。
Don't worry. I won't put you in danger. In fact, it would help me a lot if you stayed safe.
だが、委員会と事件のことに関しては、お前も聞いておけ。今後、身を守るために必要となる。あと。
But you need to hear about the committee and the case. You need it to protect yourself and...
やめろ!
Stop. Stop it. I screamed. I couldn't take anymore. Stop it, Sarika. Stop talking like you're on my side. You're the one who killed Yui and Karus. You're the one who did that to Ito.
理屈より感情を優先するのか。それが情報強者の取るべき態度か。
You're prioritizing your feelings over the facts. Is that what a right-sider is supposed to do?
うるさい。
Shut up. That's his response. I know that. What if I can't help it? I can't just calm down and listen to you.
今だけ割り切るんだ。どうせもうじき決着がつく。そしてどう転ぼうと私はお前の前に二度と姿を現さない。
Just try and keep a cool head for now. This will end soon, and no matter what happens, you'll never see me again.
何？
だから今は割り切ってくれ。
Stay
長
calm
く
and
て
listen for
24時
now.
間ほどの協力体制だ。
You only have to help me for a day at most.
久野里美代。
And Mio? We could point to the girl who'd been strangling her only a few moments ago.
お前の望みを叶えてやる。その代わり、今後宮代拓郎を預かってもらいたい。
Why do people think Kunosato's actually this good at anything? Like, alright, let's make a trade. I grant your wish. I'll grant your wish, so I want you to keep Takeru Miyashiro safe. Signs point to this not being possible. What?
なんだと。
What did you say? Now you're making
順を追って
demands?
話す。その途中で、お前の聞きたいことを聞いていい。
I'll start from the beginning. If you have questions, ask them.
だが、その前に座っていいか。壁に叩きつけられた時に腹の傷が開いた。
Can I sit down first? A stomach injury opened when I got slammed into the wall. Note, didn't actually flinch at any point. Sarika went to the sofa and sat on the edge. Only then did I remember what Dad had just said. He'd cut open Sarika's stomach. When she sat down, she put a hand in her stomach for a second, and I saw it was stained with blood. What was eerie was her attitude. She'd been careful not to put pressure on it when she sat down, but she didn't look hurt. It was as if injuries like that were an everyday occurrence for her. She'd given up on things ever getting better. The Sarika I knew always seemed like a different person.
佐久間にやられたということは、あいつもディソードを持っているのか。
If Sakuma attacked you, does that mean he has a D-sword too?
質問は佐久間のことからでいいのか。
Should I start with Sakuma then? Sarika didn't even bother wiping the blood off her fingers.
いや。
No.
おい、有村。
Arimura,
こっちに来い。
we need you over here. Come here, lie detector.
何ですか？
What?
お前も座れ。長くなる。こいつが嘘を言ったらすぐに教えろ。
This is gonna take a while. If she lies, tell me right away. Kunosada didn't wait for Arimura's answer. She turned back and sat down across from Sarika. Arimura still looked scared of her, but...
はい。
Okay.
私も聞きたいこと
There's things I
あ
want
り
to
ま
know
すか
too.
ら。
She sat down next to Kunosada. I didn't want to go near her. Images of Yui and Nono's death flashed in my mind, and I couldn't think straight. There was no telling what I might do if I got close. I ended up leaning against a wall.
百瀬さん。新庄さんにも聞かせたい話です。電話をして、スピーカーで繋いでおいてもらえますか？
Mostly, I want Shinjo to hear this too. Call him and put it on speaker, would you?
わかったわ。
Sure.
それから、さっきはすみませんでした。
Sorry, and I'm sorry about what I just did. I don't know what there is to apologize for.
何が？
Killing a telepath before they can mind rape you is like the best thing to do, especially when you're dealing with two of them. That's like an amazing thing. That's like the most straightforward thing to do. If they're not conscious, they hopefully can't attack you or alter your perception of reality. Anyway, Kunosato nodded to Momose and then her expression tightened once more. Momose made a call and said a few words to someone on the other end, probably Shinjo. Then a moment later she nodded, and Kunosato began. I hope Shinjo's recording this.
まず、根本的なことからだ。委員会の目的は何だ？
Let's start with the most important issue. What is the committee after?
わからない。
I don't know.
は？
You don't know? You
わ
joined
か
up
ると
with...
いえば嘘になってしまう。そもそも私は佐久間と協力関係にあっただけだ。お前が盛んに委員会と呼ぶ組織のことは知らされていないんだ。
If I told you I knew, I'd be lying. I'm simply cooperating with Sakuma. I've been told nothing about this organization you call the committee.
佐久間自身だって委員会の末端組織でギガロマニアックスの研究をしていただけの人間だ。委員会全体のことは伺い知れない。
Sakuma himself is only part of a very low-level committee organization that does research on gigalomaniacs. He knows nothing about the committee as a whole.
末端の組織というのは
And this organization is what?
6年前サードメルと渋谷地震を起こした連中が属していた研究グループだ。 AH 東京総合病院の地下の研究所を管理していた。
The research group that caused the third melt, the earthquake 6 years ago, they were in charge of the lab in the basement of Tokyo General Hospital. I shook a little when I heard her say that. That was where Senru Minamisawa had been tortured. That was where Uki had been kept and forced to care for the patients. Dad had been working for them?
今
Yep.
渋谷地震を起こしたと言ったな。じゃあやっぱりあれは人為的なものだったのか。
You said they caused the earthquake, correct? It was deliberate after all?
人為的というよりも何らかのトラブルと聞いている。詳細は極秘で佐久間も知らされていないらしい。
It was the result of some kind of accident. The details are top secret. Not even Sakuma knows them.
どうやら私の仮説は正しかったようだな。
Looks like my theory was right then. What you said matched most of Kunosato's theory. Most of it.
渋谷地震が実験中のトラブルだとすると、委員会はそのせいで研究そのものを放棄したのか。
If the earthquake was the result of an experiment gone awry, is that why they abandoned the research?
少なくとも佐久間はそう言っている。6年前事故のせいで委員会は手を引き、地下の研究所も解体させられたと。
That's what Sakuma says, at least. The accident caused the committee to pull out and the basement lab was dismantled too.
しかも委員会はギガロマニアックスとは違う案件に力を注ぐようになったそうだ。佐久間は自分たちが切り捨てられたと怒っていたが、詳しくはわからない。
Alright, the committee put their efforts into a different project than Gigalomaniacs. Sakuma was angry he was cut off, but I don't know the details. Alright.
ギガロマニアックス実験の被験者たちが地下で放置されていたのもそのせいか。
Is that why the victims of the Gigalomaniac experiments were kept in the basement?
そうだ。はしごを外された形の研究者たちは山添浮きをはじめとする被験者たちを持て余し、ああやって軟禁しておくしかなかった。
Ah, that's right. The researchers had their funding pulled. There was nothing they could do with Uki and the other victims but leave them in the basement. So that's what they did. How are they funding their control of the basement? I guess they own the hospital. And they're just like, fuck it, we'll foot the electric bills. For people who are like, I'll just kill 100 people, it seems very strange not to just murder them, but okay. Oh, these are people who are like, oops, we killed a few thousand people accidentally. Nah. And, or they're like, oh, there's like a few people with superpowers running around. I guess we'll murder them. It seems a little bit curious to not murder all these horrendous experiments. All the people they've done horrendous experiments to immediately. Like, there was only like 20 people. You've sent like someone to brutally murder, torture, and murder people. Like a dozen people who literally did nothing. I don't know why you wouldn't just kill these people instead of leaving them in these hospital beds and taking care of them. That costs way more money. Anyway, a lot of reasons, I guess.
しばらく経ってイレギュラーが発生した。
After a while, they realized something went wrong. Sarika glanced over at me.
白い光による能力者のことか。
Psychics created by the white light?
ああ、
Yes.
私はその光を事故によって飛び散ったギガロマニアックスの発生因子だと推測したが、その通りか。
I thought the light was some kind of causal factor that turned people into gigalomaniacs. I guess I was right then.
そう考えていいと思う。佐久間も仲間の研究者たちとそういう話をしていたからな。
It's a safe assumption. Sakuma and his fellow scientists said similar things.
仲間がいるのか。
Ah, he has people he works with.
いや、元の仲間と言った方がいいな。佐久間以外は研究を諦めて一応肩着でやっている。
No, his former fellow scientists, I should say, all of them except Sakuma gave up on the research and returned to less illegal work. So the person we got all our brain scans done on was probably one of his sketchy colleagues, and we should probably investigate the shit out of them. as they are probably responsible for like fuck tons of people being killed. Alright. Good to know, good to know.
前に宮代や有村が脳の検査をしに行ったクリニックの院長とかな。
The head of the hospital where Miyashiro and Arimura had their brain scans done would be one such example. Ah? See what I mean?
何？
What? That was like an easy guess.
あのクリニックで撮った宮代たちの脳の断層写真は
Then the scans of their brain taken to the hospital?
フェイクだ。昔のよしみで作らせたらしい。
A favor to an old friend. They're fake brain scans, so we have no clue what their brain scans are like. Alright. Yeah, basically everyone we've interacted with is lying to us. It's pretty rough. Alright, Sarika kept talking. What she said should have been a shock to me, but so much had happened that I was no longer capable of being surprised. I just didn't feel it.
父さんが
So Tad, really?
本当に
He was part of this committee thing, yep. Dad, the guy who always drank too much? The lazy guy who got chewed up by Nono and Yui all the time? Who everyone at Alba Dorm relied on more than anything? Dad, the man I loved more than the people who'd actually given birth to me?
何もかも
It was all... It was all fake. When he'd been head of Alba Clinic, when he'd been dad at Alba Dorm, it was all fake. When he killed Yui and Nono, who trusted him completely. I could feel pain in my hand when I punched the wall. Didn't help me forget any of the other things I was feeling, though. Alright.
佐久間の目的は何だ？
What is Sakuma after?
言っただろう。イレギュラーで発生した能力者の始末だ。
I told you, he wants to eliminate all the psychics that were accidentally created.
違う。本当の目的だ。
No, it's a real goal. That's a stupid goal. Alright, listen, listen. Even Kunosato sees that's a stupid goal. The reason it's a stupid goal is because killing people who don't know you exist is an easy way to reveal your existence. Especially if they're all being very, very publicly and brutally murdered. Like, wow, someone's gonna connect these dots at some point.
うん。
能力者の始末が目的なら、もっと簡単に殺せたはずだ。
If he wants to kill psychics, there's
なぜ
easier
こんな
ways.
面倒なことをした？
Yeah, why make it so fucking complicated? The murders are all incredibly spectacular, incredibly gory. Like, if you want to kill someone, just stick a knife in them and walk on. Most of them can't do anything about that.
11番目のロールシャッハ画像を現場に残したり、6年前と同じ日付に事件を引き起こしたり。
Why leave the 11th Rorschach at the crime scenes? Why commit murders on the same dates as the ones 6 years ago? Why make them so spectacular? Like, again, just shooting people with the gun is pretty effective 99% of the time. That's right, that's how this all began. The mystery was so compelling, I'd started to work it out with the rest of the newspaper club. In the end, I decided it was a game the killer was challenging me to, and I was wrong.
あれは委員会へのメッセージだよ。
It's a message to the committee.
メッセージ？
A message?
6年前、トラブルによって発生した危険なイレギュラー。つまり、想定外のギガロマニアックスを自分が掃除してやっているというアピールとでも言おうか。
He wants them to know he's cleaning up the Gigalomaniacs that were accidentally created 6 years ago, you could say.
掃除？
Cleaning them up? Yep. Arimura raised an eyebrow. I felt so fierce it took everything I had to stop me from using my powers.
ふざけんな。ユイをあんな風に殺したのは掃除だったっていうのか。
Yeah, it was Miyashiro. You gotta get over that, buddy. The hell, you're telling me that doing that to Yui was cleaning? It would have been so much more efficient if you just, you know, shot her and threw her body in the river like anyone else. Like you're in Tokyo. There's a literal ocean. A literal ocean, like 10 feet away. And you couldn't dump her body in the ocean. Ah. Momose must have seen me because she came over and whispered for me to calm down. I just barely
想
managed.
定外のギガロマニアックスというと大谷や高柳柿田渡部あるいはこいつらのことだな。
These accidentally created Gigalomaniacs would be what? Utani, Takaniyagi, Akito, Watabe, these two. Yourself, Arimura. Yeah, like everyone. Kunosato pointed at Arimura and I. Sarika nodded silently.
そうだ、佐久間は末端の組織の人間で委員会と直接コンタクトする手段がない。だから委員会が注目するような形で事件を起こしていったんだ。
That's right, Sakuma was only part of a small organization and he had no means of getting in touch with the committee directly, so he did things in a way they'd be sure not to miss.
さらに11番目のロールシャッハ画像、つまり本物の力士シールも委員会にとって見過ごせないファクターだと佐久間は考えた。
And by using the 11th Rorschach, the real sumo sticker, he figured he could make it impossible for them to ignore.
あれは6年前の計画破棄とともにデータごと全て消去された。当然1枚たりとも残っていてはいけないものだ。
All the data about it was deleted 6 years ago. Of course, they couldn't leave a single one in existence.
ところがそんなトップシークレットがよりにもよって事件に使われニュースで公開されたら委員会だって放置はできないだろう。必ず佐久間に接触してくる。それが狙いだった。
But if that top secret picture started showing up in the news, the committee would be forced to take action. They'd make contact with him. That's what he was after. Alright.
データごと消去されたのなら佐久間はどうやってあの画像を手に入れたんだ。
If the data was deleted, how did he get it? Clearly it wasn't all deleted.
ある場所に画像が保存されていたんだ。委員会の想像もつかないような場所にな。それを取り出すことに
He hid it.
佐久間は成功した。
He hid it somewhere they'd never imagined, and then he succeeded in getting it back.
というと
What do you mean? Did he store it inside someone's head, or did he store it in hyperspace?
脳の中だよ。
Yeah.
地下で実験を受けていた被験者の山添右紀が連れていた老人を覚えているか。
That's why I was saying he's a telepath. He just hid it in some someone's brain. He hid it inside a brain, inside the brain of one of the basement test subjects. You remember the old woman who was always with Uki Yamazoe? I remember too. That 321 flashback. This lady. Yep. That blind old woman.
無論あの老人だけでは何の役にも立たない。でも非常に珍しい能力を持ったギガロマニアックス山添右紀との組み合わせを発見したとき佐久間は狂気していたよ。
Of course, the old woman was useless on her own, but then he was overjoyed to find out how she could be paired with another gigalomaniac who had an exceedingly rare ability, Uki Yamazoe.
山添の能力は他人の妄想をリアルブートしてしまう。それを使ったんだな。
Yamazoe's ability allows her to real boot other people's delusions, and he used that, right?
そうだ、あの画像に取りつかれていた老人は食事を求めるように画像を求め、それを山添がリアルブートするようになった。
Right. The old woman was obsessed with the image. She shot it like you and I seek food. And then Yamazoe started real booting it.
そうして11番目のロールシャッハ画像は渋谷の至るところに出現し、佐久間はそれを回収して犯行に使った。ここまでやれば委員会が動かないはずがない。
And that's how the 11th Rorschach started appearing around Shibuya. Sakuma went and recovered them and then used them in his crimes. Their presence would force the committee to act.
佐久間は委員会と接触することで何を望んだんだ。
What does he hope to gain by making contact with the committee? Good question.
自分が中心となったギガロマニアックス研究の再開。
He wants to restart the Gigalomaniacs project with himself as the lead. Alright. That's it? That's the only reason? That's the only reason he did all this?
で、実際にあったのか委員会からの接触は。
And did it work? Did the committee contact him? Good question. Thanks, Kunosato.
そのようだ。委員会は研究再開の条件として今回の事件の収拾をつけるよう佐久間に命じた。
It appears so. They did contact him. Before they were willing to restart the project, they wanted him to finish cleaning up this incident first.
そこで奴は私との約束を反故にし、宮代に全ての罪をかぶせて事件の収束を図ろうとしている。
And that's why he broke his promise to you and is trying to end the killings by portraying Miyashiro as the killer? For the first time, there was a hint of disgust in her voice.
結局佐久間に裏切られたわけか。なぜ佐久間はこいつを犯人に仕立て上げようとしている？
So in the end, Sakuma betrayed you. Why is he trying to make him out as the killer? Kunosato pointed at me as she spoke.
本来であれば事件は南沢千里が犯人となって決着するはずだったんだ。自殺という形でな。
The original plan was for Senri to play the role of the killer. The killings would end with her suicide. What? I was caught off guard by the sudden mention of her name.
と言っても実際はお前たちも知っての通りハイダリコという別人だが。
Of course, as you know, it was going to be another woman named Riko Haida. Yup.
宮代拓、お前はずっと南沢千里が生きていて自分に復讐しようとしているのではないかと怯えていたが、それは杞憂だ。
Takuru, you always thought Senri was alive and plotting revenge on you, but you were scared for nothing.
本当の南沢千里はこの世にはいない。確かに死んだんだ。
The
そ
real
もそもあ
Senri
い
is
つは
gone. She's
お前
dead.
を恨んでなどいなかったしな。
And she never hated you.
お前、南沢千里のこと知ってたのか？
You know about Senri?
直接は知らない。が、クルス・ノノの思考を読んだ。
Not directly, but I could read Nono's mind.
また思考盗撮か。大した芸だ。
More mind reading, a hell of a trick.
皮肉は
It's
いい。
useful too, isn't it?
とにかく佐久間はさす
Oops,
が
I skipped that line. Whoops. Your comments are unnecessary. Either way, Sakuma planned to end the killings by making Senri, aka Riko Haida, commit suicide, but his plan didn't
宮
work.
代拓だと褒めておくが、お前たちはこちらが思っているよりもずっと早く事件の裏に気づき、すぐに行動を起こした。
You deserve some praise for this, I suppose. You solved some of the mysteries of the case faster than we expected and took quick
そ
action.
のせいで殺す予定だった能力者が殺せなくなり、順番が狂ったんだ。
Because of that, he wasn't able to kill the person he planned to kill, and the order of the murders had to change. Sarika looked at me for a moment and then looked away. She was probably talking about Uki. They were gonna kill a little girl just like that? I scowled at Sarika as hard as I could.
それで仕方なくハイダリクを先に殺したのか。
Then we killed Riko Haida first since he didn't have a choice? Seems
そう
like
だ。ニュージェネの狂気の再来事件を途切れさせるわけにはいかなかったからな。
That's right, the return of New Generation Madness incidents couldn't be allowed to stop. I felt disgust as I watched Sarika talk coolly about murder. This couldn't be the Sarika I knew.
それで最終的に宮代拓を犯人に仕立て上げようとしている理由は何だ？
And why is he trying to turn Takuru into the killer?
実はよくわからない。が、委員会の指示かもしれない。
I don't know, it might be committee orders. Eh? I never even heard of the committee until now, and they want you dead. Yep, sucks to be you. So why?
覚えていないか？宮代自身が以前疑問に思っていたことだぞ。
Don't you remember? It's something you were wondering about before.
何のことだよ。
What are you talking about?
能力者は一人で一つの能力しか持てないのかという疑問があったろう。
Whether a psychic could have only one power? You have two, right? You made a person and you have telekinesis.
Huh?
That's right. That had come up when we were talking in the club room. In the end, we never came up with an answer, so we had to move on.
お前は私という存在をリアルブートした。これだけでも大した能力だが、その後、さらに別の能力まで使えるようになっている。
You real booted me into existence. That's an incredible power on its own. But after that, you were able to use another ability.
渋谷地震で発生した白い光。それを浴びたものの中には、こんな例は存在しない。
None of the other Gigalomaniacs were able to do
Kunosato.
this. Am I right, Kunosato? Yeah. None of the other ones hit by the white light.
ああ、今のところデータ上は皆無だ。
At least according to the data we have.
だ
Which
が
is pretty
佐久間に
unreliable.
よればかつて佐久間たちの組織が研究していたギガロマニアックスというのはそういうものだったそうだ。
According to Sakuma, the gigalomaniacs he once studied were capable of that.
何？
サイコキネシスだのテレパスだの特定の力だけを持つ超能力者まがいではなく
They weren't simply psychics with individual powers like psychokinesis or telepathy.
心の中に思い描いたどんな妄想でもリア
They're
ルブート
capable
できる
of real
存在
booting anything they
それを
imagine.
ギガロマニアックスと呼んだ。
Interesting.
つまり本来のギガロマニアックスは能力さえ開花すればどんな力でも使えるはずなんだよ。
In other words, once their powers developed, the real gigalomaniacs could do anything. Hinasato looked at me with narrow eyes.
つまり宮代拓は本物ということだな。そして委員会は何らかの理由で本物を危険だと考え排除したがっている。
So Takuru's the real thing then? And for some reason the committee decided he's dangerous and wants him gone? Yeah, because if you can real boot anything, you might be able to like reshape reality. Seems pretty good. Or do something absolutely insane like fabricate alternate reality documents proving them wrong, or do like anything you want to because you have every superpower ever. Yeah, seems good. You can just counter his mind control with more mind control. I mean,
推論だがな6年前の事故に何か関係があるのかもしれない。
it's just a guess, but yes, it may be connected in some way with what happened 6 years ago. Or you could destroy an entire district of a city with your powers. That's possible too.
私が話せることはこれで全てだ。
That's about all I can
あと
tell
は
you.
知らされていない。
I don't know about anything else.
どうだ有馬。
Well, Arimura didn't say anything, so it's presumably all
嘘
true.
はついてないみたいですね。
It doesn't look like she's lying. Arimura had been watching Sarika with fiery eyes the whole time. Sarika looked back at her, and after a moment's thought, she spoke.
ああ、その通りだ、有村。
That's right, Arimura. Arimura leapt out of her seat.
だから勝手に人の心を読むな。
Stop reading my mind.
さっきから考えていることがあるだろう。言葉に出さないと他の連中に伝わらないぞ。
There's something you've been saying for a while, thinking for a while now, right? If you don't say it, the others won't know.
最低。
Ha! Piece of shit. There was hatred in her voice. And Sarika didn't respond, it only angered her more.
セリじゃない、尾上セリか。あんたは思考盗撮を使って能力者を見つけ殺していた。そうよね。
Sarah, you know. Sarika Onoe. You used your telepathy to find psychics and kill them, right?
ああ
Yeah.
ラブホテルで柿田さんが殺された事件、どうして柿田さんの方を殺したの？
When Kikita was murdered in the hotel, why did you kill him and not me?
私も能力者だって分かってたんでしょ？
You know a psychic,
二
right?
人であ
Both
そ
of
こ
us
にい
were
たんだ
there?
から。
簡単だ。私の能力と柿田の能力が同じだったからだよ。思考盗撮の能力者は邪魔だ。私や佐久間の正体がバレる。
It's simple. Kikita has the same power I did. A telepath was a threat to our plans. They could find out who Sakuma and I were.
たったそれだけの理由で。
That's the only reason.
私たちの計画には重要
It
な
was
ことだ。
important to our plans.
ちきしょう、あんたのせいで。
Damn it, it's your fault. At some point, Arimura started to cry.
そうだ。
That's right.
私がいたせいであの日柿田は死ん
It's
だ。
my fault Kikita is dead. Oh, look, now she's mad. You bitch! Arimura reached down to thin air, went to grab her sword, and stopped. She looked at Sarika with tears running down her cheeks, red with rage. Damn it all. Arimura slammed herself back into her seat instead of grabbing her sword. She held her arms tight to her body without bothering to wipe away the tears. Nobody has the willpower to actually kill serial killers in this. I like it. I like it a lot. You
新庄
bitch
さん
out, you suffer.
聞いていたか
Shinjo, were you listening? After a moment's silence, Kuno Sato spoke into the phone.
ああ
Yeah.
あんたにやってもらいたいことがあるんだがな
There's something I want you to do.
なんだ
What?
青葉寮にまだ捜査員が残ってるなら何とかしてほしいあと
Sir.
マスコミも
How is he gonna do that? He's like off the case, and you're saying, if there's officers at the Albador, I want them gone. The media, too. On what planet does that work? It's like Super Sesame, like, yeah, just take down all the guards. Force the media home.
家宅捜索自体はもう終わってる可能だと思うがどうする気だ
We finished our search. I think it's possible, but what are you planning
場
on
所を
doing?
そっちへ移す佐久間の調査とあと山添浮を私たちの目の届くところに置いておきたい
I want to head there. I need to investigate Sakuma, and I want Uki Yamazoe somewhere I can keep an eye on her. You should use her power to, like, real boot something pretty crazy. If she can real boot the contents of someone's mind or anything they're thinking about, that'd be pretty handy. It was several hours later when Shinjo called us and told us the police had left Albador. We were all loaded into Momose's car, and Shinjo told us which routes to follow to get there without hitting any checkpoints. Having a spy working for the police is real handy.
ん百瀬さんは
Where's Momose?
フリージアに戻りました。
She's back in Frisia. Says she's looking at the case from another angle or some bullshit. AKA, she's going to get fridged by the bad guy, who probably should kill her at some point.
そうか
I see. Shinjo was waiting for us in the living room. He stood somewhere he could observe Sarika. I suddenly felt the familiar smells of home and felt a little better.
はあ、ここはやっぱり僕の家だ。
Yeah, this place really is home, isn't it? It had only been a little while since I'd left to find Karus, but it felt like a long time.
ここに来るまで大丈夫だったか
Did you make it here okay? I hope
Aye.
they did. Looks like they did. Yeah, I nodded back, but it felt like the whole town was going crazy. As I crouched in the back seat, I would sometimes look up and peek out the window. It was bizarre how many people there were. The sun was only just starting to rise, but there were groups of people partying everywhere. Through the closed windows, I could hear irritating laughter. How dare
み
they
んなが
laugh?
浮かれてるうちの署は全員街のあちこちで警戒に当たってる
Everyone's excited. The whole department's deployed around the city to keep watch. They're stretched super thin. Shinjo must have seen the look on my face.
僕を探してるんでしょうか。
Are they all looking for me?
いやそうでは
Nah, they're not. They're... He was about to shake his head, but...
すまん正直その可能性が高い復興祭でいつもより人が多いのは事実だがネットを見たか
Sorry, honestly, there's a good chance they are. It's true that the festival means there's more people outside than usual, but have you looked online?
あ、いえ。
Oh no. I hadn't
君
felt
を
like
捕ま
it.
えた者に懸賞金が出るというデマが広がっている
There's a fake rumor going around that whoever catches you will get a reward. You know, I got a question. Since we know Kuno Sato is K, since we found out she is K, she hasn't done a single fucking broadcast. Can you believe that? How weird that is? Like, how on earth would Kuno Sato just be like, well, I have the pseudonym K, I'm a mega famous reporter? Why would she not just be like, so, I have it on good authority that it's not actually such and such as the killer. I have an idea of who it is, but I've sworn to secrecy. Do something like that so it's not obvious who the killer is. Just be like, yeah, I've been in contact with the police. They don't think he's actually the killer. They look, it's like he's not actually the killer. He's a scapegoat because they can't find the real killer. Say something like that. And see where it gets you, because she has a lot of influence, but she's not using her influence to try and to make leverage with her, like, online profile. It's kind of curious. Maybe she's just trying to keep it low and not like ruin her image or something. I don't know. I don't know what she perceives the value of it, because I thought the goal was to spread rumors, but maybe it's because she can't generate advantage out of it. Like, she's like, okay, I could get them off him, but how does that help me? It doesn't really. It doesn't get me more information. She's not getting anything out of it, so she doesn't bother. That's probably why. She's probably like, you know, Kunosada. So my initial thought was that she had that she was like using the persona to clear up mistakes or get people looking for information she was looking for. But it seems like she's a lot more like Takuru, where she doesn't actually care what people think or if they know the truth. She just cares about being right and knowing herself and feeling superior to people. Like Takuru, who's like, I know the truth. These guys are fucking morons, and he'd like rather take the truth to the fucking grave than tell anybody the truth, no matter how good it would make him look. Alright. So, fake rumor? What? That can't be a
も
reward?
ちろん警察はそんな発表はしていない。逆にデマだと発表したんだが、それが分かっていないのか、仲間と一緒に君を探している連中も多いらしい。
Of course, the police made no such announcement. They actually came out and said it was a fake, but there's a lot of groups out there looking for you anyway.
デマだなんてみんなわかっているさ。
Everyone knows it's fake.
何？
What? Jinjo looked at Sarika with animosity in his
ネ
eyes.
ット上の祭りというのはこういうものだ。連中にとっては情報が正しかろうと間違っていようとそんなことはどうでもいい。そうだろう、宮代拓。
That's what a festival on the internet's like. They don't care whether the information's right or wrong. Am I right, Takuru? For some reason, she seemed a little happy. She was right. That was the basic mechanism for internet festivals.
有村、久野里さんと和樹たちは。
Arimura, where are Kunosato and the others? I wanted to change the subject, so I asked about the people who weren't here.
久野里さんは1回佐久間が仕事で使っていた PC の中をダメ元で漁ってます。花たちは
Kunosato's on the first floor. She's looking at Sakuma's computer, though she doesn't expect to find much. The others? Arimura glanced at Sarika before she spoke.
ゆうとくんも一緒にウキの部屋にいてもらってます。
I sent
近
them
く
to
にいない
Uki's
方が
room.
いいと思ったから。
I thought it wouldn't be a good idea for them to be close. Arimura didn't come out and say it, but I knew that meant close to
ウキ
Sarika.
は、大丈夫かな？
Is Uki, well, okay?
ええ、ゆうとくんのおかげと言っちゃなんですけど、自分がしっかりしなきゃって思ってるみたいです。そういう時の女の子は強いですよ。覚えておくといいです。
It's because of Yudo, I guess. She seems to think she has to be the big sister. Girls are strong when they get like that, you know? You should remember that. Alright.
そっか。
I see. R.I.P. in peace, no. Yui and Curious had been the same way. Whenever they had someone to protect, they were stronger than
あ
anything.
とは父さん、佐久間がおかしなことをしてこなければいいけど。
I mean, he's obviously doing something. Now we just have to hope Dad that Sakuma isn't up to anything. You know, it'd be real easy for him to, like, you know, plant bombs somewhere in his clinic to destroy it if there was any evidence. Conveniently killing everyone inside. I'm surprised no one thought about that. Like, why on earth would he not just, like, rig explosives in the walls or some shit? He isn't really the type to do that because it's not gratuitous enough, but doing that, or, like, implanting the idea that he's not here in people's minds and having them ignore him is also something he could easily do. Right?
それは心配しなくていい。佐久間は私と宮代のことにケリがつくまで有村や山添には手を出さない。
You don't need to worry about that. Sakuma won't go after Arimura or Yamazoe until you and I are dealt with.
ね
That's some
え、あんた
confidence.
さ、
You know, there was a challenge in Arimura's voice.
まるで仲間みたいな顔して言うのやめて。めちゃくちゃ腹立つから。
Stop acting like you're our friend. It really pisses me off. She was clutching her hands into fists so tightly they turned white. Her lips were shaking a little bit. All traces of an expression vanished from Sarika's face. It was impossible to see what she was feeling. And then, the intercom rang. I looked and saw it was from the exam room of the first floor, probably Kunosato. I hit the answer button and put it on speaker. Is that intercom?
宮代か。
Miyashiro?
はい。
Yeah.
佐久間が普段使っていた PC は診察室のもの以外にあるか？
Besides the one in the exam room, was there any computer Sakuma used?
いえ、ないと思います。
No, I don't think so. As far as I knew, anyway. He had hidden everything from me.
おい、尾上。ここの他に佐久間が隠れていそうな場所は思い当たらないんだな。
Oh no, wait, outside this place, you don't know anywhere else he could be Sakuma could be hiding, right?
Oh.
That's his name. I was trying to remember what his name was when I didn't say the word dad. Alright, yeah. Sarika answered Kunosato's question. During the hours while we'd waited for the police to leave Alba Dorm, Kunosato had peppered Sarika with questions. Most of them dealt with the nature of the committee rather than the case itself. I heard a lot of words I'd never heard anyone use before. I don't think any but the two of them understood it. Most of it. What struck me most during the time was the rage on Kunosato's face. Her face was twisted into something terrible, and she would sometimes slam her fists down on the desk as if she was trying to stop herself from strangling Onoe. Please, if you're gonna strangle someone, efficiently strangle them. Use like a noose. Use like a noose or something to actually kill someone that only ever gets tighter instead of one of these. Instead of your bare hands. They're really ineffective. You must have really hated the committee. It seems it had something to do with what had happened to her when she was in America, but I couldn't ask her anything. She's a pretty close person. I could hear her working at the computer over the speakerphone.
ダメだな。何も出ない。
It's no good.
Oi.
I'm not finding anything.
尾上、
Oh no.
なんだ
What?
お前が私に与えられる情報はこれで全てか。
Is this everything you can tell me? Yes. Rika nodded.
なら、宮代を私に預けるというのはどういうことだ？
What do you mean you want me to take care of Miyashiro? That's right. I hadn't gotten the chance to ask that. Make sure this idiot doesn't get himself killed. Probably. Sarika had said that at Frisia.
言葉通りだ久野里美代。お前には今後宮代拓を可能な限り生かし続けてもらいたい。
Just what I meant, Mio. I want you to keep Takuru alive for as long as possible once this is done. Is this the, don't get him killed plan?
はあ？
What? What?
私はこれから佐久間の指定した場所へ行く。もちろん一人でだ。
I'm going where Sakuma told me to. Of course, I'll be alone. Rika looked at me as she spoke. He's
あ
gonna be
い
like,
つは
what?
お前を連れてこいと言っていたが、それに従う必要はない。
He told me to take you with me, but there's no need for me to do so.
私は必ずあいつと差し違える。だからお前は久野里美代の手引きでこの町から逃げるんだ。あいつが死んで真実が明らかになれば、いずれお前の無実も証明されるだろう。
I'm gonna kill him and die myself, so I want you to leave this city with Mio's help. Once he's dead and the truth becomes known, your innocence will be proven. Alright.
なんで？
Why?
お前はもう危ないことはしないんだろう。
You're not gonna do anything dangerous anymore, are you? No, that's not right.
なんでお前がそんなことするんだよ。
Why are you doing this?
私の存在する理由がお前を生かすことだからだ。
The reason I exist is to keep you alive.
私がそいつを
An
引き受け
interesting
ると
claim.
でも思ってるのか？
Do you really think I'll take him? Kunosawa's voice was cold as if she thought the whole thing was a bad joke.
受けてはくれないか。
You won't.
当たり前だ。私は委員会に復讐するためにここにいる。ギガロマニアックスのお守りをするためじゃない。
Of course not. I'm here to take revenge of the committee, not to babysit gigalomaniacs. Alright.
宮代拓を渋谷の外に連れ出せば、お前の望みが叶うかもしれないぞ。
If you can get him out of Shibuya, your wish might come true, you know. What? Kunosato fell silent as if she was thinking of something. Wait, what? What's going on? What would happen if she took me out of Shibuya?
いいか、久野里美代。 佐久間は委員会の中枢へ入り込んでいきたいらしいが、そんなのはただの夢物語だ。委員会にそんなつもりはないだろう。
Listen carefully, Mio. Sakuma wants to be a part of the committee. That's never gonna be happen. The committee has no such intentions.
結局佐久間をどうしようとお前の望む中枢にはたどり着けない。だが
No matter what you do with Sakuma, you'll never get closer to them.
お
But
前が宮代拓郎を連れて逃げれば話は別だ。
get Takaru out, things change.
カオスチャイルド症候群か。
Chaos Child Syndrome, huh? I frowned when I saw Sarika nod. Chaos Child Syndrome? That was the name for the PTSD symptoms that started appearing in children after the quake. What did that have to do with
そ
anything?
れができるのはお前しかいない。委員会に対して知識を持ち、碧峰学園や青葉寮の特殊性に気づいていて、
You're the one who can do it. You have the knowledge to fight the committee, and you noticed what makes Hekiho and Albadorum special.
なぜ能力者が渋谷に集まっているのか、それを理解しているお前にしかな。
You're the only one who knows why there's so many psychics in Shibuya. Okay. But how does this help her?
どうだ、お前が復讐を望んでいる連中が向こうから現れるかもしれないぞ。
What do you think? The people you want revenge on might just come to you. I mean, they'll probably send someone to you, but yeah. I didn't know what she meant. I could tell Arimura was confused too. Albadorum and Hekiho Academy were special. And what about all the psychics in Shibuya?
能力が生まれるき
It's
っか
the
けになっ
white
た
light, yeah,
白い光が渋谷で起こったからで
right? It's the white light, but wait, that's not right. The light created the psychics, and they did some experimentation to create more, right? That was what you learned from the information so far, but
能力者たちが渋谷にとどまり続けている理由は
there's no reason for them to stay in Shibuya, is there? Yeah, why would everyone stay in
待ってく
Shibuya?
ださい。どういうことですか？
Hey, what are you talking about? Arimura shouted towards the phone.
能力者は私たちみたいな人間はどうして渋谷ばかりに？
Are all the psychics people like us in Shibuya? There was no answer, but I knew Kunosato heard her. Torika stared at the phone as if waiting for an answer. Was there some connection between psychics and Chaos Child
本
Syndrome?
当にそう考えているのか。
Are you certain about this?
何？
What?
宮代を渋谷から逃がすことが宮代の生存につながると。
That getting Miyashiro out of Shibuya is key to keeping him
佐
alive?
久間を殺したところであいつに思考誘導をかけられた人間は正気に戻らない。宮代拓の居場所は渋谷にはもうない。
Even when dead, his mind control will remain. There's no place where he'll be safe.
であれば逃がすしかないだろう。
Which means he has to get out, yeah?
有村、そいつは嘘を言ってないか。
Aimura, she's telling the truth?
言って
Probably.
ないはずです。それより何なんですか？何を知ってるんですか？
What's this about? What do you know? There was another silence. This time it was long enough I thought she'd hung up.
それなら有村と山添も渋谷から話した方が委員会と接触する可能性は高まるな。
That means the more people I take out, the more likely I run into the committee. Good plan, Mio. Or good plan, Mio. That means getting Arimura and Yamazoe would also make it more likely I run into the committee as well.
好きにすればいい。宮
Do what you
代
want.
拓郎を
As
連
long
れ
as
て
you
行って
take
くれ
the
るな
crew, I
ら
don't
文句
care.
はない。
Alright, you just have to get them all out. Okay.
は？
Uh,
ちょっ
uh.
と
宮代と有村は荷物をまとめろ。山添にもそう伝えておけ。新庄さんにも手伝ってもらうぞ。
You two get your things together. Tell Yamazoe too. We'll have Shinjo help us. We're getting at least 2 people out, I guess. Suddenly she hung up.
どういうことだ？
What's going
こ
on?
っちが聞きたいですよ。ちょっと行ってきます。
That's what I want to know. I'll be right back. Alright. Aimura sounded irritated as she ran downstairs to see Kunosato. I thought to myself as I watched her go, alright. Was there still something I didn't know about the case?
知りたいか？
Do you want to know? I assume you go like insane if you try to leave it or something. Sarika was looking at me as if she was trying to test me again. She was reading my mind again.
僕は
危険なことはしないで。
Don't do anything dangerous. The more she cripples us, the better.
勝手にすればいいじゃ
The
ないか
more we're weighed down by Nono's obsessive control over people, the better, right? I mean, at the start of this, we were ranting about how much of a fucking control freak Nono was, and we're still full control freak, and she's been dead for like 3 days. Damn, man. Just do what you want. I turned away before the feelings in my mind turned into words. That's right. Anything else would mean betraying Nona. I glanced to the side and saw that Sarika was still staring at me. Her expression was the same as ever. She seemed the same, and when I knocked her hand away at Frisia, sad, as if she dropped and broken some priceless treasure. November 6th, 2015, on a Friday. Alright. So, this guy, I don't think the doctor's even gonna be at the fucking showdown. If the main character doesn't leave after her to the showdown place, the doctor's not fucking there and is coming to their house. There's like no chance he's this stupid. He's already outsmarted her like twice.
神聖の街渋谷のますますの発展を願い、開催の言葉とさせていただきます。
Oh, that's an interesting office
皆様、
design.
ご協力のほどよろしくお願いいたします。
I assume these are office buildings. The ones that we're looking at right now. I really like the design of this guy's river with like its weird box side things everywhere. That's kind of cool. It's like someone fused a bunch of rectangular prisms together. It looks really cool. Anyway, now is the time to celebrate Shibuya. A city reborn, everyone. The festival's begun. Thank you for your cooperation. November 6th, 2015, 9 a.m. The second Shibuya Peace and Restoration Festival had begun. The people gathered in front of Hikariwo began to loudly applaud when the mayor finished his speech. They started to split off to visit the concerts and stalls they wanted to go see. Over 80% of the people were from outside Shibuya. Many were from Tokyo, but others had come all the way from outside the country to witness the celebration. There were easily more than 100,000 people in attendance. The first festival was held last year to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the reconstruction, and the whole ward had come out to celebrate. A similar event had been done a year after the disaster, but it had been less of a festival and more of a memorial. The rebuilding work was proceeding at a feverish pitch, but at that point it was still too early to call it a city reborn. Feverish pitch. Last year, though, even though there were still areas that were covered in rubble, the 5th year anniversary, and the prospect of the tax revenue that would come along with it, was enough to get the government to hold a festival for the whole ward. Despite only being a one-day event, it attracted over 80,000 people and worldwide attention. It was such a big success that for this year, the city had put even more effort into it. Bigger concerts, more places to eat, more places to drink. The main areas were centered around Hikariwo Building, as well as the Shibuya Cultural Hall, Shibuya 107, and Shibuya Sign City. All the main roads around the station were closed to traffic that wasn't bringing in people or equipment to the festival. Bunkamura Street and Dogenzaka Street in particular were overflowing with performers and stalls. Should we do the spot next? The reporter with Tokyo Next TV saw the cameraman nod and then looked at the scene in front of her. This whole thing was stupid, and she can tell she was getting tired. Center Street. One of Shibuya's busiest shopping streets. The street always had a lot of young people to begin with, and now with the festival was covered with stalls to visit and filled with people of all ages. There's too many people here. When she'd been given the job of reporting on the Shibuya Reconstruction Festival several months ago, she literally jumped for joy. The reason she was excited was that the vocalist for one of her favorite bands, Momone Takanayagi, was going to be performing on stage. Ever since she'd happened to hear of Takanayagi's voice at a concert hall, she'd been a fan, or perhaps a dedicated believer. She was willing to do whatever it took to get a camera to her performance at the Restoration Festival, so that the whole world could see how wonderful she was. But then she was murdered. Sucks. Why did she have to die? She'd been caught up in the return of New Generation madness and been killed. Now there was barely any point in covering the festival anymore. She still had to smile and obey when her boss told her to come here, and in the end, I'm off chasing rumors. She wanted to believe that a big TV station would be better than this. What she was doing was little better than rubbernecking. Oh, there they are, look. The cameraman pointed at a group of people wearing homemade t-shirts. The shirts had a white print background with a photo on the front and a big red question mark that covered the photo. They were all young, like the others she'd interviewed so far. She covered her annoyance with the same smile she used to deal with her obnoxious boss. Then she pushed through the crowd and got close to the group. Hello, what are you up to? Oh, are you from TV? What station? Who cares, she thought to herself, but she told them she was with Tokyo NEX. This, look. He pulled on his t-shirt to show her. This photo in the center was two fat male faces. The sumo sticker. If the TV's here, is it true what they said on Twitter? What's that? She played dumb and acted surprised. She certainly couldn't tell them she'd come here because of a rumor on Twitter, especially one that was almost certainly a lie. There's a rumor Miyashiro's gonna kill himself right here. She knew about it. Before dawn, it was supposed to happen in front of the big TVs. A few hours ago, it was next to the statue of Hachi in front of the station. My reporter, do you mean Takeru Miyashiro, the fugitive? Yeah, I've got a photo. He started to fiddle with his smartphone, seemingly oblivious to the fact she hadn't asked to see it. It was the same picture of Takeru Miyashiro she was already sick of seeing. According to her boss, it was from his student notebook. How did you get this? I like how she's just like endlessly playing dumb for ammunition. You don't spend a lot of time on the internet, dude. Everyone's got it. We're totally gonna get that reward. Our reward, come to think of it, there was a fake rumor about that going on. Did you make those t-shirts yourself? No way, we just bought them for 300 yen back there. Don't they look stupid? It's just a meme. And then they started to laugh, though she didn't get the joke. She could feel herself getting more aggravated. She'd seen similar t-shirts and placards, and even some declaring Takeru Miyashiro a god and glorifying the sumo stickers. Some of them were being sold as part of a movement to get rid of the sumo stickers so people could focus on the festival. Most people were just wearing them to be part of the chaos. Of course, this was the first time she'd seen anyone who actually believed in the reward. What are your thoughts on Takeru Miyashiro?
連続殺人？しかも同じ施設のやつもでしょ？何やってもいいと思ってんすよ、こいつ。
Total son of a bitch, a serial killer, right? And he killed people from his own orphanage? What a sicko.
こいつのこと、神とか言ってるオタク連中？マジキモくないっすか？俺らそういうの許せないんすよ。
Those weird otaku guys say he's some kind of god, but they're just a bunch of creepy losers. I hate those assholes. She ignored most of what they were saying. You know, I'm gonna be honest. It's really suspicious that people believe this when you'd think, if you realize he's the guy who put up like things like he's like intentionally investigating the murders, got famous for investigating the murders, and then he's the killer. Like, it seems somewhat suspect that he's able to do all that. I'd be like looking at things with a grain of salt here. I'd be like, if he's investigating it, why is he the killer? I'd be a little bit weirded out by that. She ignored most of what they were saying. There was no need to go deeper. As long as she had the footage on her camera, that would be enough. Everyone seemed to think he was the killer. At least everyone who'd come to the festival to find him seemed to think so. And they were probably right. The official announcement just said he was wanted as a person of interest, but if he wasn't the killer, they wouldn't have used his real name. She also heard that they were in fact looking for him as a suspect, though she didn't know where the information came from. Weird. It seems a little bit... That voice seems quiet. Takeru Miyashiro, the killer behind the return of the new generation madness. She suddenly felt a rage building inside her. There was no way she could do what she had originally set out to do now. The angel with the heavenly voice was dead. But if there was one reason to participate in this festival... That's right, I don't care if they're just rumors. I'll find all the information on Miyashiro's whereabouts I can, and make it easy for people like these to find him. If he wanted to kill himself in public, he was probably some kind of sick madman. If he pulled it off, and even more idiots might start worshipping, and that was probably just what he wanted. So she wouldn't let that happen. That wouldn't atone for her murder at all. He deserved a miserable, painful death, preferably with people throwing rocks at him, like an old historical drama. Hey, what's wrong? Only then did she realize that the people in front of her had stopped talking. She said thank you and went to go find another person to interview. One last question. She suddenly stopped and asked the group one last question she thought of before they disappeared into the crowd. Where are you from? Saitama, they came by bike. And they laughed again, but she still didn't get the joke. This time she turned around without thanking them and walked off into the busy street. She could tell her cameraman looked confused. He didn't seem to understand the meaning of her question. If they were from Saitama, that meant they weren't from Shibuya, and from the look of it, they weren't victims of the disaster. People who had nothing to do with Shibuya were here looking for Miyashiro. So were victims of the quake she'd interviewed a while ago, who were hoping that the Restoration Festival would be a success. And so were people with a grudge to bear against him, like her. Come out, Miyashiro. Her thoughts were never going to be heard on TV, and the people nearby couldn't hear them either. But they were shared by the vast majority of the people at Restoration Festival. Whenever she saw someone wearing a sumo sticker on their clothes, she figured they were after Miyashiro, and when she went to interview them, she found she was right. But in fact, the news that Miyashiro was going to kill himself in front of the crowd last night had been playing on TV every hour since the last night. Because of that, over 90% of the people at the festival heard it. There was literally no safe place for him in the city. Alright, a repeat of what that interview line said. Total son of a bitch, a serial killer, right? And killed people from his own orphanage. What a sicko. The words made me sick, so I turned off the TV. I realized the skin on the soles of my feet was starting to rub off and unclench my toes. It felt like if I didn't keep some part of my body tensed, I'd scream and start smashing things. I always hated outsiders who never cared about the actual people caught up in something, but this time, it was different. This time, it's you who's under the crosshairs, and 100% you who's at fault for not saying you're innocent at any point, and just letting people do whatever they think is right or correct. Who's the son of a bitch? Damn it, you don't know anything. You don't understand anything. And if you don't know anything, then you need to keep your mouth shut. I wasn't the one who killed Nono or Yui. Sarika had been sitting in her chair, barely moving. She seemed to be staring at a spot on the wall, just waiting for time to pass.
Takuru-san.
Takuru? Oh, it's Hannah. How's it going, Hannah?
Oi, ここへ来ちゃダメだろ。
You're not supposed to come in here. I suddenly shut my mouth. Yuki and Kazuki were both looking at Sarika. Their hands were shaking, either with fear or rage, maybe both.
新庄さんと優斗は
Where are Shinjo and Yuto?
新庄さんは今電話を。ゆうとくんはお薬を飲んで私の部屋で眠ってます。
Shinjo's on the phone, and Yuto took some medicine. He's asleep in my room.
そっか
I see. I was glad he was asleep. If he saw the person who killed his sisters, he probably couldn't take it. He was just still in elementary school. The two of them stared at Sarika unmoving. Sarika didn't move either, but
本当だ。
it's true. At some point, Sarika had turned away from the wall to look at them.
クルス・ノノを殺したのは私だよ。山添雨季、和樹花。
Uki, Hana, I was the one who killed Nona. Their expressions changed. Sarika must have read their thoughts. They took a few steps back and shivered.
他のすべての事件もあなたなんですか？
Then you're behind all the other murders too?
そうだ。
Yes, that's
どう
right.
して？
Why? No, that's...
いえ、だったら
Sarika's voice was calm, but Yuki's was small and shaking.
私がいた場所のこと何か知ってるんですよね。
You know
私がお
about
世
the
話を
place
してい
where
た
I was,
皆
right?
さんは今どこに？
Where are all the people I was taking care of?
さあな。私にはわからない。
I know. Bye.
答えてください。お願いです。あなたがすべての犯人なら知っているはずです。
Answer me. If you're the killer, you must know. I suddenly realized why Uki wouldn't back down.
そうだ
That's right. Uki didn't know about Dad yet. I hadn't had time to tell her,
ユ
and
キは父さんを慕っていたから
Uki really looked up to him. Uki was extremely shy, and it was Nono and Dad who'd given her a place here. She'd always found her meaning in life helping others, so doctors must have been people she really looked up to.
話せるわけないだろ
I can't tell her.
山添雨季、お前は何も聞いていないようだな。
Uki, it seems you haven't heard yet.
やめろ
Don't. I jumped out of my chair.
お前なら佐久間の正体に気づける可能性があったんだがな。おそらく6年前に会っているはずだ。
Ooh, you should have been able to find out who Sakuma really was. You probably met him 6 years ago.
あの
What are you talking
何の
about?
話を？
まあ、あんな状況では無理かもしれないが、佐久間は。
I can't blame you though. Given what you were going through, Sakuma is...
だからやめろ
I said stop. As I screamed, I hit her with my power without even thinking about it. I slammed her off her chair and into the floor. And then I walked over and grabbed her by the hair. I'd never been this violent with a girl before. I could hear Uki and Kazuki gasping at the change in me.
こっちを見ろ
Look at me. I grabbed her by the hair to make her look me straight in the eye.
いい加減にしろよお前これ以上大切な家族の心を壊すな
Enough of this fucking shit. Don't you dare destroy any more of my family. I looked at her, mustering all the rage I could in my mind. She should be able to tell how mad I was. Sarika must have felt my anger, or maybe it hurt where I grabbed her hair because her face twisted a little in pain.
タクルさん。
I looked back and saw Uki staring at Sarika with wide eyes. Kazuki looked sad too.
もうやめてください。いくら尾上さんがその悪い人でもタクルさんがそんな怖いことするの見たくないです。
Stop it. Even if Ino is a bad person, I don't want to see you being scary like that. You know, like, my character's getting executed if anyone in the city finds him, right? Like, the cops are gonna take us, arrest us. Say psychic powers aren't real and have us killed, or we're gonna get executed. We're gonna get assassinated in prison by the guy with literal mind control powers. There's literally no way this ends well for us if we don't eliminate him. And it's mostly Sarika's fault. You're right.
そうだな。
I let go of Sarika's hair. She ran her hand through it violently to try and get it back into place.
タクルさん、先生はどうしたんですか？今どこにいるんですか？
Taku, where's the doctor? What happened to him?
それに新庄さんが突然荷物をまとめろって、それと何か関係あるんですか？
Ginger told us to get our things together. Does it have something to do with that?
それは。
Well, there were tears in Uki's eyes, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. Sarika stood up, and then she grabbed her stomach again for some reason. There was blood on her
父
hands.
さんにやられたっていう傷か。
That's where from Dad said he stabbed her. Come to think of it, her wound looked like it had opened when I used my powers on her at Frisia. Well, damn it. I turned to Uki, who looked like she was on the verge of breaking
後
down
で
in
必
tears.
ず話すから。今は言われた通りに荷物をまとめてくれ。ウキ。
I'll tell you what happened later, I promise. Go get your stuff together, Uki.
でも。
But... Uki looked like she wanted to ask more questions, but Kazuki grabbed her hand firmly and shook her head. And then she pushed her gently on the shoulder and led her out of the
ありが
room.
とうな。
Thanks. I said thanks in my mind for Kazuki's kindness. As soon as I heard the two of them start to quietly pack up in Uki's room, I invited Sarika downstairs.
ついてこいよ。
Follow me.
いいから来いって。
Just do it.
あれ
When I went inside the exam room, I didn't see Kunosada or
変
Arimura.
だな。
That's strange. I thought they'd still be here.
外科用の設備などここにはないだろう。
There's no equipment here for a surgery. Sarika must have already read my mind.
一般家庭の救急箱よりマシだろ。それに。
It's better than a first aid kit. Nono had said Dad used to be a brain surgeon, that he'd done operations on patients during the Shibuya earthquake. There were still patients who'd said he'd saved their lives. That's right, Dad was a good doctor. The people in the neighborhood loved him. He drank too much, and he could be a little lazy, but he was a man who found his life's work in helping others. A man I could respect. And why? At first, I hadn't believed he could betray us, but as time passed, it seemed more and more real. I knew it was pathetic, but I almost started to cry. I tried to take my mind off it by going through the shelves, which were filled with gauze and drugs. All the medicine bottles had neat labels in Nono's handwriting, and when I saw them, it only made me want to cry more. Why did they not just get a label printer if they had that many? Anyway,
違うな。
that's not right.
佐久間は相手の思考を誘導するという最悪な力を手に入れ、それを楽しんでいる人間だ。なのに、表向きはいい医者を演じていた。
Sakuma is a monster who gained the power of mind control and enjoyed it to the fullest. He only played at being a good doctor. Sarika lifted up her skirt and showed me her stomach.
お前、それ。
It was covered with packing tape that had been stained dark red. It was wound poorly and far too tight.
佐久間は以前、私が傷の応急処置にガムテープを使っているのを見て笑っていたよ。やるじゃねえか、と意味のわからないことを言ってな。
Sakuma once saw me using packing tape to treat an injury and laughed. Not bad, he said. I didn't know what he meant.
お前は2番目の事件を覚えているか？ストリートミュージシャンの高柳が殺された事件だ。
You remember the second murder? When Takaniyagi, the street musician, was killed? Yeah.
腹が裂かれてスピーカーが埋め込まれていた。あの時、思考誘導された高柳が止血に使ったのがやはりガムテープだ。
Her stomach was cut open and a speaker put inside. She was mind controlled into using packing tape to stop the bleeding.
思考誘導された高柳が裂いた腹をガムテープで処置しているのを見た。なぜそんなことをさせているのか、あいつに尋ねたが、
When
あ
I
いつは
saw
こう言った。
When I saw him make her use the packing tape, I asked him why he was making her do that, and this is what he said.
お前に似てるだろ？人形みたいで面白いじゃねえか。
She's like you, a doll. Isn't that funny? I don't really get the joke either, but okay. I can imagine his tone and his voice. I felt all the hairs of my body stand on end.
私は佐久間の思考を読んだ。何を考えてそんな言葉が出てくるのか知らなければと思った。
I read Sakuma's mind. It felt like I had to know why he was saying that. She let out a long breath as if something that had been building up inside her
あい
was
つは
letting it out.
言葉以上のことを考えていなかった。
He wasn't
頭の
thinking
中には
about
ただ
anything more than what
面
he
白
said.
いという声だけが反響していた。
The only word in his mind was funny.
あいつは異常だ。よく快楽殺人と言われるものがあるが、それですらない。
He's not normal. They talk about people who get pleasure from killing, but he's not even that.
自分にとって面白いかどうかだけが重要で、その行為が殺人かどうかにさえ興味がないんだ。
All he cares about is whether or not he finds something entertaining. It doesn't even have to be murder.
あいつに気持ちを寄せるな。理解しようとするな。優しい父親だったという思い込みを捨てろ。
Don't try to have feelings for him. Don't try to understand him. Give up the idea he was a loving father.
別にそんなつもりはない。
I know that.
違う。お前は
No,
ま
you're
だ
still
佐久間に
hoping.
対して何かを期待している。でも、あいつにとっては、食後のお前たちとの談笑も残虐な殺人も同じことなんだぞ。
To him, the conversations he had after dinner with you are no different than the brutal murders he committed.
そんなつもりないって言っ
I
てるだ
said I
ろ。
know that. I couldn't tell how my confused thoughts appeared to Sarika, because I didn't know how I felt myself. Dad was trying to join an organization called the Committee. That's why he was going to kill me and put an end to the case. I was tired of hearing
だい
that.
たいそれをすぐに受け入れろって言われたって。
No way I could take it all in so quickly. Just 10 hours ago, Dad was Dad, the lazy guy who drank too much, the doctor everybody loved. And, now this is your good old dad. Sarika started to silently tear off the packing tape.
ここは外科じゃないからな。手術道具が置いてあるとは思えない。それより、奥の机の一番下の引き出しを見てくれ。
This isn't a surgery center. There shouldn't be any surgical tools. Instead, look in the bottom drawer in the back desk.
何？
What?
クルスノノがよく使っていた机だ。そこに裁縫道具が入っているだろう。
That's the desk Carus used. There should be sewing tools in there. Carus indeed kept sewing tools in there to patch the buttons on Dad's white coat. Did she learn that by reading Carus's mind? Damn it. I was angry, but I did what she said anyway. There was a bag filled with sewing tools there, like always. I gave them to Sarika, and she grabbed a needle and thread at random. She disinfected them and started to wordlessly sew up her own stomach. Seeing the sewing needle stick into Sarika's pale white skin was worse than seeing the wound itself. She showed no hesitation and no sign of being in pain.
こいつ今までどんな生活を。
Well, she spent the last 6 years being a serial killer, so that's an interesting life. Our eyes met. I forced myself to think of something else before she could answer my
父
question.
さんは僕やお前をどこに呼び出したんだ。
Where did Dad want us to go? Oh no, our character's gonna find out. Sarika finished her stitches and tore off the end of the thread.
すべての始まりとなった場所。その始まりの時刻に来いと言っていただろう。
The place where things began, at the time everything began. That's what he said, right?
わかんないか？今回の事件、いや、6年前の事件も含めて、すべてが始まった場所だよ。
Where it and all the one that happened 6 years ago, where it all began.
そう、そこだよ。ついでに時間も合わせようじゃねえか。あの時あの場所でってやつだ。
That's right. Let's see if we can't match the time too. It'll be more dramatic that way. Alright. So that's what he said. The place where everything began?
お前や久野里が考えた通り、元凶は渋谷自身にある。
Like you and Kuno Sato Suspected the cause of this was the Shibuya earthquake. Yep.
あれはとある装置が爆発したせいで引き起こされたものだ。
It was caused by the
そして
explosion of a
お
certain
前た
device
ちが発生因子と呼
in
んで
which
い
you
るも
call
の。
the causal
実際
factor.
はある特殊な電磁波だが、それが拡散されてしまった。
It's a special type of electromagnetic wave, actually. It was spread out from it there.
それ
Alright,
によ
it's
っ
EM.
て望まれない能力者が覚醒することになった。
That's what caused the psychics to awaken to powers they never wanted.
渋谷地震が人工地震だったっていう陰謀論は事実だったのか？
So the conspiracy theory the Shibuya earthquake was caused artificially was true? Bro. It was obvious the quake was artificial from like the first chapter. We didn't really need to be told this directly. But you've already told us it like 7 times indirectly, but now you're like, we're going to hammer it into your head extra hard, so we're going to have the character state that, not just state that the quake was caused by the activation device, but that the quake was artificial, and like the conspiracy theory we mentioned ages ago was like,
そういうこと
surely
に
you
な
get it
る
at
な
this。point. That's right.
お前たちもフリージアで話していたが、その装置はかつて渋谷駅前のプラネタリウムに密かに設置されていた。
Like you were told at Frisia, the device was secretly set up in a planetarium in front of Shibuya Station. Kunasato had been the one to tell me that. Some company had bought at the planetarium and used it to do
で
experiments.
もあそこは今光が立ってるだろ。
That's where Hikari was now, right?
そう。だが、ヒカリオの中にかつてのプラネタリウムの DNA を引き継ぐというコンセプトのもと、新たに建造された施設がある。
That's right, but there's a facility inside the building modeled after the old
それ
planetarium.
がシアターキューブだよ。
The theater cube. What? The theater cube? A huge theater inside Hikariwo. It's used for musicals and famous performance groups from both inside and outside Japan. It was the largest part of Hikariwo building and one of its most popular attractions. It was modeled after the old planetarium?
そういえばあそこには。
Come to think of it, I'd gone there once before. There was a foreign musical playing. I remember being amazed at the size of the place and the luxurious design. But what I remember best were the faces of the people I'd gone with. Yui, Yuto, Nono, and Dad. I think it was to celebrate Nono and I making it into Hekiho Academy. We'd made it into Hekiho which offered free tuition to earthquake orphans. And Dad had joked, this frees up a lot of cash and brought us expensive front row seats. Nono had gotten mad at him and told him he was wasting money. Thinking back, that was the first time the 5 of us had gone anywhere as a family. It was a memory I treasured. But
なんで父さんはそんなところを選んだんだろう。
why did he choose a place like that? Extra amusing for him. I know I closed her eyes for a moment.
おそらくはお前だ、宮代拓。
Probably because of you, Takura Miyashiro. Probably because of you, Takura. Me?
今回の復興祭、ヒカリオはその中心の役割を担っていて、大勢の人間が集まっている。あいつは声明通り、お前を衆目の中、自殺に見せかけて殺すつもりだろう。
It's at the center of the Restoration Festival. The place will be full of people. He wants to kill you in front of the crowd and make it look like suicide, like he said. Using his mind control, of course.
それに、復興祭の昼のイベントさえ終わってしまえば、夜の劇場は巨大な無人スペースになる。万一、ディソードで切り合う羽目になっても、人目を避けられる。
Once the events in the afternoon are over, the theater will be an empty space by nightfall. If he does have to get into a fight with his D-sword, he can avoid being seen.
始まりの場所に来い、などと大行なことを言っていたが、あいつが何の意図もなく場所と時間を指定するはずがない。
He made a big deal about where it all began, but I can't imagine he'd specify a time and place for no
っ
reason.
てことは時間っていうのは
Means the time is
午後10時28分。
10:28 p.m. time of the earthquake? I would never forget that time. It was when Shibuya earthquake struck, yep.
午後10時28分をもって復興祭の雰囲気は一変する。それまでのお祭り騒ぎから 参加者全員が黙祷を捧げ、渋谷は静寂に包まれる。
At 10:28 tonight, the festival is going to undergo a change. All the festivities will end for the time of silent prayer that will cover the whole city.
そんな中、自殺の声明を出したお前が登場するわけだ。
And then
どう
you
なる
show
か
up after telling
想像
everyone
が
you're
つ
going
く
to
だ
kill
ろう。
yourself. You can imagine what will happen, right?
あのクズめ。
Piece of shit. Alright. There was disgust in her words, but it wasn't rage. It somehow sounded like she was suffering somehow. Why, Sarika? If you're that angry, if you're in that much pain...
なんでお前はずっと父さんに従っていたんだよ。
Why'd you do what he told you to?
何度も言っている。私を生み出した時のことは覚えているだろう。
I told you many times already. You remember what happened when I was created, right?
おのえ、
Sarika, save me. Please, please.
おのえ、
Hone,
お
please
願
give me.
いだから
Please give me.
僕に。
あの時、お前は自らの生存を助けてくれる私を望んだ。私はそのようにして生まれた。
You wanted someone to save your life. That's how I was
そ
born.
れ以外に優先させる目的など私には存在しない。そのために他のすべてを捨ててきた。
I have no other purpose in life. I've given up everything else for
お
that.
前に生み出されたあの瞬間から私はそうやって生きてきたんだ。
That's how I lived from the moment you created me.
そう生きることを与えられて私は生まれたんだ。
Living that life is why I
お
was
前を
born.
生かすためであれば相手が佐久間だろうと誰だろうと黙って従う。
I'll obey anyone if it means keeping you alive, even Sakuma. I couldn't speak. If what Sarika was true, the real cause behind all this was...
責任を感じる必要はないぞ、宮代拓。
There's no need to feel responsible, Tsukuya. I shuddered reflexively as she read my mind.
お前はこれまで何も知らなかった。ギガロマニアックスのことも、その存在の裏で暗躍する連中がいることも。
You didn't know anything about the Gigalomaniacs or the ones who were responsible for their creation.
だから、これはお前のせいじゃない。
Your fault. Feelings that pained me deep in my heart came boiling up.
いいのかよ。
Alright. So we're gonna somehow duel in front of him and not get mind controlled instantly. That's gonna be interesting. I'm wondering what her plan is. How she's not gonna instantly get MC'd, considering she can't resist our telekinesis. I don't know how she resists the telepathy either. Are you okay with that? I forced myself to speak the words.
お前はそれでいいのかよ。
Are you okay with that? That's right, even if I'd created Sarika, even if I'd given her a reason to live,
ユイやノノを殺したんだぞ。
you killed Yui and Nono. That's not what I wanted. The kind, gentle Sarika Onoe I knew would never do that, would never want that. She had to keep me alive, even if it meant losing Nono and Yui, even if it meant killing them? That's not what the two of us wanted. Was she really willing to give up everything else for the goal she'd been given? That's not
本
human.
当にただの人形みたいじゃないか。
Then you really are, just like a doll. Yep. Sarika didn't move. She just looked back at me.
そろそろ行く。
It's time for me to go. She was the first to break the silence. She tossed the old packing tape and used gauze she'd put on her own wounds and the remainder of the fresh bandages in the trash, and then readjusted her clothes.
渋谷から出た後はしばらくはおとなしくしていろ。取るべき行動は久野里美代が指示してくれるだろう。
There is like a 1% chance that he actually leaves Shibuya, and like a 99% chance that either something happens to make him unable to leave, or he runs after you, Sarika. Alright. Kunasa is gonna tell us what to do? Yeah, alright. She headed for the door of the exam room. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She put her hand on the doorknob and without looking back said,
夜までここにいるつもりだったが、山添雨季の能力が割と厄介だ。今余計なことをされると困る。それに。
I was planning on staying here until nightfall, but Uki Yamazoe's power is a potential threat. I don't want her trying anything, and
お前の心変わりが起きても困るしな。
I don't want you changing your mind.
何？
Before I could say anything more, the door opened. Shinjo was standing there. I wasn't sure how long he'd been there. He looked down at Sarika, seemingly trying to keep his emotions in check.
なるほど。迷っているのか。
I see. You're not sure what to do.
君は殺人犯だ。
You're a murderer. He blocked Sarika's path as he spoke.
どんな事情があるにせよ。そしてその事情が常識で測れないものであっても、殺人は殺人だ。
No matter your reasons,
法によ
even
っ
if
て
those reasons are
君は裁
beyond
かれなければならない。
normal imagining. A murder is still a murder. You have to be arrested and put on
そう
trial.
だろうな。
I'm sure. I'm sure. Sarika's voice was
それ
calm.
に今回の事件は尊敬していた先輩の弔い合戦でもある。
In this case, is my way of avenging another detective I respected a lot. The two of them stood facing each other, the air thick with tension between them. They stood like that for almost a full minute. I couldn't see Sarika's face from here, but Shinju's expression seemed to waver once in a while. He probably knew Sarika was reading his mind, so he was thinking the things he wanted her to know. It felt like there was a silent but intense discussion going on between them. Eventually, Shinja sighed a little. He moved to the side with a pained expression on his
いいん
face.
だな。
You sure about this?
復興祭が終わった後、上層部からどんな圧力がかかってこようと、俺は君と佐久間を追う。どこへ逃げようとな。
Once the festival's over, no matter what kind of pressure my boss puts on me, I'm going after you and Sakuma, no matter where you run.
お前が追うのは一人で済む。生き残るのは私か佐久間のどちらかだけだ。
You'll only need to go after one person. Only one of us will survive. She went to walk out of the room at a pace which belied her injury.
宮代拓。
Miyashiro Takura. She stopped, and without looking back, she said,
生き残れよ。何があっても。
Survive. No matter
お
what
前だ
happens,
けは
you have to survive.
生き残れ。
So her odds of victory are like what, 0? What would you bet that Sarika can solo this guy? I'd bet like $100 easily that she can't solo him, no problem. And then she disappeared.
あまり思い詰めるなよ。
Don't think about it too much.
何をですか？
About what?
いや、
Never mind. Remember the standard defense for telepathy. Remember the standard defense for telepathy in several series is simply thinking of rhymes and rhythms. You could very easily just think of everyone's favorite Rick Astley song playing on repeat in your head endlessly and rickroll any telepath. They wouldn't even have a choice. They're like, I scan your mind, suddenly get rickrolled. Fuck. Trying to breach your mental defenses, endlessly getting rickrolled, the rage. Yeah, there's only a few existences where like tinfoil or where tinfoil works. And like X-Men's one, right? Magneto's helmet blocks telepathy. So Marvel sort of works.
警察は
Oh, he scratched his head, then checked the time and frowned.
厳戒態勢で復興祭の警備に当たっている。俺もこの後、一旦ここを離れなくちゃいけない。
The police are putting everything they have into security at the festival. I have to leave soon too.
その間、代わりの警官が来る。そうだな。ウキ君の部屋に隠れているといい。君がいるとは思ってないから、探しはしないはずだ。
You can hide in Uki's room. He won't know you're here, so he won't look for you.
はい。
Alright.
おそらく戻りは夜になる。 そのタイミングで渋谷を離れよ
I'll be back
準備を
tonight.
して
We
おいて
can
くれ。
leave Shibuya then. Be ready. Fuck. Not happening. It's not happening. You can't just be like, I'll be back tonight after the climax of the series. Yeah. I'll be back after the climax. Things will happen off screen. Bye. Alright, we can leave Shibuya then. Be ready to go. Yeah, good luck. Good luck. Alright. And our character's like, yeah, alright. That's my response. Yeah, alright, that's totally gonna happen. I answered him, but my body wouldn't move. My hands were clutched tight, and I hadn't even realized it. I felt so frustrated, so angry and disgusted with myself. All these horrible things were going on around me, and someone else had already decided how I was going to escape them. I'd done nothing at all. That's literally your MO, Takeru. Junjo seemed to be about to say something else, but instead he left the room silently. The clock said it was past 10 p.m. It is very bright outside for 10 p.m. Holy shit. I was supposed to be getting ready to leave Shibuya, but I couldn't leave Alba Dorm right now, and most of the stuff in my room was already taken by the cops. There wasn't much for me to do.
大体渋谷を離れる本当の理由は何だ
Why am I leaving Shibuya anyway? Might be to avoid the warrant, but it was clear from the way Sarika and Kunasato were talking there was probably another reason. Something that had to do with psychics. Something that had to do with Chaos Child Syndrome. Damn it. Where's Kunasato when you need her for once? I quickly closed my eyes and shook my head. Don't do it. Don't try to find out. Remember your promise to Nono. You've already learned what happens when you try to find out about things you're not supposed to know, right? Right?
尾上は言ったな。
Onoe's gone, right? I looked up and saw Kunasato and Arimura by the door.
いつからというか
How long have you been here? Were they at the front desk next to the exam room the whole
尾
time?
上に思考洞察されたくなかったのでな。とっさに有村と逃げ込んだ。
We didn't want Onoe reading our minds, so Arimura and I hid. Kunasato entered the exam room. Alright, new plan. What's the plan, guys? Arimura followed after. When she saw the bandages and tape in the wastebasket, she looked at me angrily.
別にあいつの味方になったわけじゃない
I'm not on her side. I sounded guilty as I said it, but all Arimura said was, I know. The look on her face was strange. It was as if she blamed me, but wasn't able to say it aloud. What is it?
なんだ
Come on, you guys must have been planning something.
他にも何か言いたいことはあるんじゃないのか
There's something else you want to say, isn't there?
言ってくれよ
Tell me.
Oh,
I'm fucking sick of secrets. Me, the reader. I'm not sick of them. These are entertaining. Some of these have been really entertaining. You're right. Arimura looked at Kunasato for a moment, but evidently it was okay for her to tell me because she continued.
セリ尾上セリカはなんて言ってましたか
What did Sarika say?
というと
What do you mean?
いろいろ話してましたよねよく聞こえなかったけど声はしてたから
We talked about a lot of different things, right? I couldn't make out what it was exactly, but I heard voices.
そうだな
Yeah. I gave them both a brief version of what Sarika told me. Kunasato crossed her arms in thought for a moment, then whispered to herself.
やはりな。
I thought so.
お前、どう考えている
What's your take on this?
何がです
On what?
尾上の言い分だ。
On what Sarika had to say for herself. It's mighty suspicious.
どうって
What? I didn't even think about it. None of the things she had to say were what I wanted to hear.
たとえ僕が彼女を生み出してしまったとしてもどうしても納得できないというか
Even if I created her, I still can't accept this.
違う。そういうことじゃない。
That's not what I'm talking about. No. Kunasato raised a hand to cut me off.
あいつがしたことは許されない。それは、どんな理由を振りかざそうと変わらない。
What she's done is unforgivable. Whatever the reason, that won't change.
私が聞いているのはそういうことではなく、あいつが昨べ、事件に関して説明したことだ。
Come on, Takeru.
お前はどう思う？
Analysis. You don't have your billboard in front of you, but do some analysis for once. That's not what I'm talking about. What did you think about her explanation of the case last night?
昨べ尾上が話したこと
What she said last night? What did I think? She told the truth, right? Arimura heard the whole thing and used her powers to check it. But Arimura looked at her feet and said softly,
宮代先輩、覚えてますか？伊藤先輩と結衣さんの事件の後、私が言ったこと。
Mishio, do you remember what I said after what happened with Ito and Yui? Hmm?
私がもっと注意深く能力を使っていれば、伊藤先輩の言葉がどこかおかしいって気づけたはずだって。
If I'd been more careful with how I used my power, I could have figured out that something was wrong with what Ito was saying. Yeah? Yeah. Arimura regretted that deeply. But what did that have to do with Sarika? You were using it precisely to try and read between the lines? Yep. Ah. I looked at her face and suddenly figured out what she meant. Was there something that Sarika had said?
嘘があったのか。
Was she lying?
いえ、彼女は確かに真実を語っていました。
She was telling the truth, but...
でも。
But?
なんか変なんです。うまく言えないけど、真実すぎるというか。
It was all so strange. I don't know how to say it. It was all too true. Too true?
なんだよそれ。
What does that mean? Listen, man. She's on like fucking mechanical autopilot and you haven't questioned. She's on mechanical autopilot. She's like, this is a good question. Like, she got away from the mind control guy who wants her dead, and she didn't get mind controlled despite being unable to resist telekinetic powers. What makes her think she can resist the mind control? It's a very good question. It's all too true, too easy to believe. It's stuff you don't want to hear, but it's too easy to believe. There's got to be like a catch in it, right?
私、ずっと注意深く聞いてました。私の能力って相手の言葉が本当か嘘か分かりますけど、
I listened as carefully
人
as
の
I
言
could.
葉っていつも白黒はっきりしてるわけじゃないで
My
す。
power lets me tell when someone's lying, but people's words aren't black and white.
話してる時っていろいろ迷ったり曖昧になったり、自分でも何言ってるか分からなくなったり。
Yeah, I dig. Yeah, they hesitate. They get vague.
ちゃんとしてないですよね。
Sometimes they forget what they're trying to say. They're just not very clear, you know?
だから普通は本当のことを話しててもぼんやりとしたグレーみたいな部分が混じってるものなんです。
I get ya. Even when they're talking normally, as a part of what they're saying, it's kind of gray. Okay. So she's saying, like, the stuff she says that's objectively true, but, like, and she's kind of neutral on? I think that's what she's talking about.
人間が言葉を発するという行為は常に理路整然とした思考の上で行われているわけじゃないからな。理性と感情が入り混じり、時に論旨は飛躍し、会話の道筋はひどく不安定だ。
Might just be belief or emotion of the current time. And she might also be mind controlled. Human speech isn't always the product of a careful, logical train of thought. It's a mix of reason and emotion, sometimes meandering or jumping topics altogether.
でも彼女の尾上セリカの言葉は全てまっすぐだったんです。
But her, Sarika Onoe's words, they're all straightforward, like she's reading from a script. Very curious. 100% never makes a mistake, never trips up, never displays emotion, unnatural. There's a very good chance that the entire script she just vomited out when she was explaining that was entirely the product of mind control. For the sole purpose of feeding everyone the words they wanted to hear. Well, an explanation that would work for them. Alright.
それに、あいつの話そのものにも気に入らない点がある。
There are parts of what she said I didn't like. Kunosada sat down in a chair without asking permission.
フリージアであいつの話を聞いていたときは、愚かなことに、私も頭に血が上っていてな。
When she was talking to me at Frisia, I was stupid enough to let the blood run to my head. I wasn't thinking straight. Okay, and?
だが、ここへ来る途中、ふと疑問が浮かんで、そこから検討をしてみた。
On my way here, I got an idea, and I decided to try it.
だから、尾上に思考洞察されるわけにいかなかったんだ。
That's why I couldn't let Inoue read my mind. Okay, what'd you need to do?
それで
So that's why. Last night, Sarika stayed in the exam room instead of coming up to the living room to talk with everyone else. That was the reason.
本格的におかしいと思ったきっかけは、夕べの電話でのやりとりだ。
What made me suspicious was our discussion on the phone last night.
あいつは私に、お前を渋谷から逃がすように言った。それが、お前を生存させることにつながると。
She told me to get out of Shibuya. She said that was the best way to keep you alive.
ええ
Yeah. I remember her saying that. I remember it seemed suspicious that her words were too true, but they seemed like the truth to me.
確かに、お前を渋谷から逃がすということ自体は筋が通っている。
Getting you out of Shibuya makes sense.
お前にとっての脅威になって
So
しま
does
った
killing
佐久間を殺
Sakura,
すという
who's a
選択も
threat
な
to you. Okay.
だが、私にお前を託すというのが矛盾していないか？
Doesn't it seem strange she'd give you to me? I don't know what she meant. I didn't know what she meant. What was strange about it?
あいつはどうして私にお前を託したと思う？
Why do you think she trusted me to take care of you?
だから久野里さんは何か知ってるんでしょう。僕らの知らない何かを。尾上はそれを
Because you know something, right? Something we don't? That's why she...
それを差し引いてだ。そもそもあいつの存在意義がお前の生存にあるのなら、
Yeah.
お前が最後の時を迎える瞬間までずっと一緒にいなくてはならないはずだ。
Even without that, if the
違うか。
reason she exists is to keep you alive, she'd need to stay with you until the last moment of your life. Am I wrong? Yeah. She's running off, but it doesn't make a lot of sense because let's assume she's telling the truth. Like I'm already suspicious of this. Been suspicious for a while. Like if she's telling the truth, she got played by the bad guy once already, and she thinks he's gonna, where he's like, oh, I might check them out, and she rushes over, and he's like, don't go there, and she's like, I won't, and then she fucking shows up. Like, why would she's lied to him twice? He's lied to her. Why would she believe him here? Like a really weird script. You're like, all right, we've lied to each other like 2 times, but this time he's 100% real. I swear to God. Yeah, I wouldn't trust that. It's like, you're both lying. The safest bet is to be with Kuru. To make sure that, well, you're inevitably lying to him, and he is inevitably lying to you. He doesn't fuck you over like he did literally the day before, twice. She's like the person who's like, this person beat me twice in a row with, you know, we're playing rock, paper, scissors. This person beat me twice in a row with rock. Surely he won't beat me with rock again. And then he throws rock again and kills you. And you're like, oh man, I lost best 4 out of 7. You're like, nah, man, this time your life's on the line. You just die. Lives are on the line. This time you just lose. Yeah, I'm with you, Kunasato. It's literally really weird she left.
佐久間のせいで予定が狂って
That changed because of Dad, because of Sakuma. I remember interrupted me.
確かに彼女はそう言っていましたし、嘘はありませんでした。でも、嘘じゃないのはおかしいと思いませんか？
That's what she said. She said, and she wasn't lying. But do you find it strange she wasn't lying? Yes, because she's violating her purpose, but said that the existence of Sakuma makes it so that she can violate her purpose, which doesn't make any sense. Which means she can either determine her own purpose, or that's not actually her purpose, and she's been mind controlled. All right.
Huh?
I 100% follow this. It's really weird that she's doing this stuff. I stared at her, uncertain as to what she meant.
そう。あいつの言葉は真実に見せかけた嘘かもしれないんだよ。
That's right. Her words might be lies disguised as truth. Kunasato nodded.
真実に見せかけた嘘
Lies disguised as truth.
宮代拓を生かし続けるためならば手段は選ばない。
He'll do whatever it
あい
takes
つ
to
は
keep you
そういう
alive,
行動をする。
no matter what.
だからそれのどこに嘘が
But how is that a lie?
佐久間だと所詮末端組織の研究者に過ぎ、そんな小物と差し違えて何になる？ただの無駄死にでしかない。
Sakuma is a scientist for a small-scale organization. What's the point of dying to kill him?
委
It's
員会
useless.
は巨大だ。佐久間を殺したところで宮代の安全など全く保証されない。 なのに自分が死んでしまってはどうにもならないだろう。
Committee's power is vast. Killing him doesn't guarantee safety at all. How can she protect you if she's
だ
dead?
から久野里さんに僕を預けるって。
That's why she's giving me to you?
バカを言うな。確かに私はお前をおとりにして委員会の実態を探りたいと思っている。だがお前など不必要になったら簡単に切り捨てる。
Don't be
守り
stupid.
続けるわけがない。
It's true I'm using you as a decoy to lure out the committee, but once I don't need you anymore, we're done, and I'm not going to keep protecting you.
尾上セリカは私の思考を読めるんだぞ。そんなことわからないと思うか？
Sarika can read my thoughts, and you think she doesn't know that?
つまり委員会が本当に宮代先輩を狙っているのなら、彼女は先輩のそばから絶対に離れるはずないんです。
In other words, if the committee is really after you, she'd never allow herself to leave your side.
自分の手でどこまでも先輩を守ろうとするはず。違いますか？
She'd do whatever it takes to protect you herself. Am I wrong? Yeah, that makes 100% perfect sense.
それは
That's
そしてもう一つ、決定的に
one
おか
more
しなこと
thing
があ
doesn't
る。
make sense. Okay, we got more? More?
あいつはなぜ最初からお前に真実を告げなかった？
Why didn't she tell you the truth from the start? Yeah, why kill why kill half your family? Why not tell you that she's a construct? Why not do any of this from the start? That would have been so much more useful if we weren't like spending literal weeks trying to figure out things Sarika already knew
最初
from the start.
渋谷地震による昏睡から
When you woke up from your
お前が
coma,
目覚め
why
た
didn't
時
she say she was an artificial construct made by you? Yeah.
お前を生き延びさせることが目的なら真実を隠す必要なんて最初からないんだ。
If her goal is keeping alive, there's no need to ever hide the truth.
むしろ全てを正直に告げ、能力や委員会に対する情報をお前に与えた方が助かる可能性はずっと高い。
Instead, telling you about your power in the committee would give you a better chance to stay alive. Yeah, being able to defend yourself and working with your supposed protector is probably more useful than trying to work against your supposed protector. Pretty counterintuitive. I can see that,
そも
Mio.
そもそういった情報があれば、お前は一連の殺人事件にだって絶対に首を突っ込まなかっただろう。
If you knew
わ
about
ざ
the
わざ危
committee,
険な目に遭うことだってなかった。
if you knew about the committee, you never would have gotten involved in the murders. You wouldn't have put yourself in this dangerous situation.
ね
Yeah.
なんか変でしょ先輩。
Yeah, it doesn't follow. I agree. Something's not right. Yeah. He's right. I didn't realize it till they told me. I never would have done the things I did if I'd known what Sarika had told me last night. Yeah. And she even encouraged you to investigate. The weird thing is she even encouraged you to investigate the murder in the hotel room, right? It wasn't like you were dragging her there. Like, you went there and she's like, dude, the back door's open. Let's just fucking go. And then she's giving you a plot to get in. It's really suspicious. Why does she want you in particular in that room? Instead of telling you about your powers, or at least telling you that she's a construct, artificial. That's kind of weird. Like Kunosada said, I would have stayed away. I mean, maybe not, but still. In fact, I might have done something to keep us away from it. If I had Nono and Yui might not be dead, yeah, but...
なんで
Why? Why had she hidden the truth? It's like...
逆に宮代先輩を危険な目に遭わせようとしてるみたいですよね。
It's like she's trying to put you in danger, isn't it? Yeah. It's really sus. Arimura said the same thing I was thinking. I'm thinking it doesn't end well for you with her. At any point. 100%.
でも
But she
尾上の言葉が嘘だなんて
She can't have been lying,
ありえないだろ
right next to her
ゆうべ
last
は
night.
有村がそばにいたんだから
Takuru, you don't understand. The character's literally been mind controlled. She can believe literally anything. And if you're not contesting what she believes harder than are you sure? And poking holes in her logic, which is pretty hard if she's actually an artificial, if she's made by psychic powers. It's pretty hard to prove that she lived a different life than she claimed. She'll believe fucking anything, man. You were right next to her last night.
方法がないこともないんです。私の能力の盲点をつく方法が。
There's a way. There's a blind spot in my powers.
有村の能力の盲点。
A blind spot? I remembered what Arimura had just said. Everything Sarika said was the truth. But it was too true. It was as if she was reading from a script.
Huh?
Oh. I found it. There was one way. One way to get through Arimura's
ま
powers.
さか伊藤の時と同じ。
Was it the same thing as Ito? Arimura nodded slowly.
はい。私が伊藤先輩の異常を見過ごしてしまった。
If it's the same way I missed, what's wrong with Ito?
思考
Mind
誘導
control. Coincidence? Wow. We're going up against a mind controller, and what a coincidence. You might have lied. That meant there might be a little bit of hope.
つまり尾上は佐久間に思考誘導されていて。
In other words, Onoe's mind is being controlled by Sakuma.
あんなことをしたのは伊藤と同じように操られていただけで。
And she did it because she was controlled, just like Ito. But Arimura didn't look any better when I asked her.
私もそれなら少しは救われるなって
I thought we might be that
思ったん
lucky,
ですけど。
but
あくまでも可能性の一つだ。それにすがるな。
it's one possibility of many. Don't get too attached to it. I mean, he might have been puppeting her for 6 years. Who knows?
だそうです。
You heard her.
そうか。
He might have been puppeting her for 6 years. We don't know how long Ito was held. Speaking of which, is Ito recovering at all? We haven't actually heard any news on the guy other than that he's, like, not doing well. My shoulder's slumped.
先輩。
Yeah, sure.
妙な期待はするな。それすら罠かもしれん。
Don't get weird ideas. That might be a trap. Even going to the planetarium might be a trap, because it seems obvious you want to go there now, but, like...
はい。
Yeah, I know.
分かってます。
I spoke clearly. I thought I was telling the truth. But Arimura looked down as if she was in pain.
今嘘を
Was
つ
I
いた。
lying just now? Was I lying? Kuno-sana must have figured out what I was thinking because her expression became more stern.
私も思考誘導の線は考えている。でも、それも腑に落ちないんだ。佐久間が己の思考を操って、わざわざ仲間割れを演出する理由は何だ？
I think there's a potential for mind control too, but it doesn't make sense. If he's controlling her, why fake a fight? Yeah, things are going great for you. You didn't need to do that. He's right, there's no reason for Dad to do that. If he sent Sarika as an assassin, I would have been dead already. The two of us had even been alone together and Sarika had done fucking nothing. So we have no information. Basically, she was mind controlled into reading a literal script of what her life's purpose and his purpose was and what Dave was planning on doing. They made this scripted event, but we don't know what the fuck to do right now. I knew it. I mean, my plan would be get the fuck out of this house, because he knows where you are right now. That would be the biggest thing, like... So right now, you have no clue if the villain's coming to kill you. You have no clue if there's, like, what Sarika's done to the house. Like, the number one thing you want to do is get the fuck out of here, right? I know it sucks, because, like, everyone in Shibuya is after your head, but... This is literally the worst place to be, is because Sarika could very easily be mind-controlled into just calling him up immediately after leaving the house and being like, yo, he's at Alba Clinic, bye! And then he just shows up, mind-controls you, kills you all, and leaves. And it's like, oh, it was the killer. It was the killer, the crazy kid. I had no choice. I had to beat him to death with a frying pan or some shit. I don't know. I knew it. There was no point in hoping that Sarika was really just a normal girl who didn't know anything. I should have been able to tell from watching her last night. The way she talked, the way she acted, the way she behaved towards everyone else. It was all different than the Sarika I knew before. If mind control was involved, she would have acted like the Sarika I knew. Because I hated myself for Noe, but if she had been the old Sarika, I couldn't have brought myself to hate her. I would have thought for a long time, then maybe forgiven her. And then, like an idiot, I would have done exactly what Dad wanted, and only regretted it the instant I was killed.
Miyashiro.
Miyashiro. What's the plan? Kunosato's expression was as fierce as ever.
はい。
Yes?
よく考えろ。もしかすると、これが重大な鍵かもしれない。
Think carefully, this could be extremely important.
昨日も聞いたことだが、地震の時、お前は何を望んだ？その結果、尾上がリアルブートされたのだとしたら、あいつに何を求めたんだ？
I asked you this yesterday, but during the earthquake, what did you wish for? If that wish was what real booted her, what did you want from her?
本当にあいつは、お前を生存させることが目的なのか？
Was their job really to keep you alive? I remembered what it was like back then. I remembered the hellish sights around me, the horrible headache, and I remembered begging Sarika to help me. She said it was her goal to keep me alive, to save my life literally. There was a brief but strong pain in my head. I pressed my hand to my forehead. Whenever I remembered that, the pain came back.
大丈夫ですか？
Are you okay? Armor had been through the same pain, so she was worried. I raised my hand and told her I was okay.
とにかく助けてくれと言った気が
I
しま
think
す。
I just told her to save me. He keeps getting horrendous pain every time he tries to recall it, which means he might be mind controlled into believing that's the case. Again, like, he's lived with his dad for 6 years, who easily could have mind controlled him before he woke up from his fucking coma into believing whatever the fuck he wanted to. I couldn't remember if I'd barely been able to get the words out, or if I'd shouted them at the top of my lungs, or if I'd even said them aloud at all, but I could remember asking Sarika for help. But was that all I asked for? Back then I'd... Damn it. There was a new pain. This time I could feel a throbbing in my temples. I pressed my hand harder into my head and the nails dug into the skin. My whole body staggered and I collapsed to the floor.
Senpai!
Yeah, sure. There was a warm sensation on my shoulder. Armor was trying to help me up.
ごめん。大丈夫。
I'm fine.
嘘です。
You're lying. Armor led me over to the bed in the corner of the exam room. I wanted to lie down right away, but...
いや、ダメだ。新庄さんが代わりの警官が来るって言ってたから、ウキの部屋に隠れてろって。
I can't. Shinjo said another officer's coming. I have to hide in Uki's room, he said.
じゃあ、もういいですから、
Let's go
上に行
upstairs
き
then.
ましょう。
I nodded and thanked her as she'd held me by the shoulder. I forced my body to softly push off her and stand up on its own.
久野里さんも、すいません。
Kunosada, I'm sorry. She sighed in resignation and shook her head. It's fine, she said.
どのみち、尾上がここにいない以上、情報の裏付けは取れないしな。
Without Inoue here, I can't get confirmation either way.
お前の話だと、尾上は今夜10時28分にシアターキューブに現れるということだが。
From what you said, Inoue is going to be at the theater cube at 10:28 p.m. tonight, but...
残念ながら私では、能力者2人を相手にして立ち回りを演じることはできそうにない。ハンドガンも久しく撃ってないしな。
Unfortunately, I can't see myself being able to fight two psychics. I haven't even fired a gun in a long time. Yeah, do you even have one? Pretty hard to get guns in Japan, man. What? Arima returned to Kunosada, surprised she'd fired again. Kunosada seemed unusually hesitant, but said,
仕方がない。尾上の言うことには、どこか矛盾があるとはいえ、今はそれを探る時間も人も全く足りない。
I hate to say it, but we'll have to give this up. There's something not right about what Inoue is saying. We don't have anywhere near the time or manpower needed to find out what it is.
とりあえずだが、予定通り、新庄さんが戻ってくるのを待って、渋谷を脱出する。
For now, we follow the original plan. Wait for Shinjo to get back and leave Shibuya.
もし、何らかの企みがそこにあるなら、乗ってやるまでだ。
If this is some kind of plot, we just cross the bridge when we come to it. That bridge when we come to it. Alright. I went to Uki's room to hide before the police officer got here and found Yuto curled up asleep on their bed. He must have been crying for a long time because he was red around the eyes and I could see tear marks on his cheeks. Uki was sitting on the bed, softly holding his hand. She'd probably been like that for a long time. It seemed a very natural thing for her to do.
ちゃんとお姉さんしてるんだな。
Being a very good big sister, aren't you?
いえ、私なんてまだ。
I'm still not. Her voice was soft and kind so as to not wake Yuto. There's a loneliness mixed in with her words. Oh. I could see she was looking at a photo on the desk. It was a picture of Yui and Uki. I couldn't tell when it was taken. Yui was hugging Uki from behind and pressing her cheek up against Uki's blushing face. I thought about the person who'd taken this picture. If it wasn't one they'd taken themselves, someone had to have taken it. It wasn't Yuto. Yuto was there, he'd been standing between the two of them, and Dad wasn't into taking photos, which meant it was probably Nono. I could tell what Uki was thinking when she looked at it. She was thinking about when Nono had taken the picture.
出発は夜になるって。準備できてる？
We're leaving tonight. Are you ready?
はい、一応は。
Yeah, I
でも、
guess.
よくわからなくて。
I don't understand them. Neither did I. It wasn't that I didn't know what to take. I didn't know what was happening to me. I hadn't even been told where we were going except that we were leaving Shibuya.
とりあえず、一旦離れるだけだから、心配しなくていいと思うよ。
We're leaving for a while. I don't think there's anything to worry about. Except for the part where the guy knows who Shinjo is and Shinjo can't protect himself against mind control either. And you're just casually waiting for several people to go to places unknown, come back to you without being mind controlled, and drive you somewhere outside the city that's apparently safe. You don't know where you're going, man. There's no actual plan. It could very easily be going right to a committee facility to be, like, murdered by, like, 200 psychics, because apparently they recruit and build psychics from the ground up, true psychics at that. Like, a colossal disaster if you just go wherever Shinjo says. It's pretty risky if you just go where Shinjo says. Like, you think Shinjo hasn't been mind controlled? He's the lead detective on the fucking murder case. Come on, man. We're leaving for a while. I don't think there's anything to worry about.
Hi.
Okay. Nuki smiled a little at Arimura's attempt to make her feel better. Apparently
お
we're...
前は大丈夫なのか？
Are you okay with this?
大丈夫っすよ。前から旅に出てみたかったんで。
Sure am. Been waiting to go on a trip. Or wanting, I guess. See? He was joking around because Uki was here. It felt like old times and I smiled a bit. Of course, she wasn't okay. He was leaving the town where she lived and with no notice at all. And she was leaving because someone wanted to kill her.
なんて言うんですかね、こういうの。バンドワゴン？ん？バンドでワゴン？
Oh, what do you call this anyway? Jumping on the bandwagon? Banding in a wagon? No. That second one doesn't even make any sense. I suddenly realized Kazuki wasn't in the corner of the room. Or I suddenly realized she was in the corner of the room chewing dried squid. I haven't seen that in a while either. It's kind of a relief.
花、ユウトが起きちゃうから。
Anyway, you'll wake up Yuto.
はあ、着替え足りるかな。買わなきゃダメか。
I wonder if I have enough clothes. I guess I'll have to buy some. Armor tugged at her outfit as she spoke.
有村さん、よかったらですけ
Armor,
ど。
if you like.
ん？
Huh?
よかったら、その、ののさんの使ってください。ののさんの部屋にありますから。
If you like, you can use Nono's. They're in her room. Huh? Isn't Nono taller? Arimura froze. She clearly didn't know what to say.
いや、でもそれは。
Oh, but that's...
いいんです。ね、タクルさん。
It's alright. Right, Tucker? I was a little surprised. For a moment, it looked like she looked like Nono or Yui. He probably decided she'd protect Yuto, so he was trying to be a big sister like they were. I nodded to both of them.
なあ、
Yeah.
ノノはどんなものでも無駄にするのが大嫌いだったから、もらってやってくれないか。
Nono hated waste, no matter how wasting anything, no matter how small. Would you please take them?
けど
You,
いいんだ。
I'm fine. I'm fine. Armora seemed a little surprised, but her face finally took on a serious expression.
わかりました。もらっていきます。
I understand. I'll take
はい。
Thanks. Hannah's just like, her classic emotive, non-verbal non-linguistic communications. Didn't say non-verbal because it's clearly verbal. Alright, yeah. Armora ran over to Nono's room to get clothes before the police came. I decided I should probably check if there's any clothes left in my room, then stood up.
渋谷を離れる。
I'm leaving Shibuya. I tried to leave the room quietly so as to not wake up Yuto, and then I stopped.
地震の時、お前は何を望んだ？その結果、尾上がリアルブートされたのだとしたら、
Come on, man.
あいつに何を求めたんだ？
What did you real boot her as? I asked you this yesterday, but during the earthquake, what did you wish for? If that wish was what real booted her, what did you want from her? I remembered what Kunasato had just said. I looked around as if trying to find the answer to a problem I couldn't solve, and I saw Uki holding Yuto's hands as he softly moaned in pain.
いや、
No, I don't have to know, do I? I don't have to think about things I don't know. This is the right thing to do. If I endured the headache long enough, I could probably find the answer. But I gave up and left Uki's room to go get ready instead. Okay. I don't know what to say, but if you... I don't know about alternate routes, but if you read this line even once, you know he's probably going to try it in another route or at some point in the future, if he's not willing to try it. Right? Alright. I gave up and left Uki's route. Like, that's a big... Oh, this is a flag for another route. Or a flag for the future, right? Alright. I gave up and left to get ready to leave instead. Yep. November 6th, 2015, Friday night. Alright. A little after 4 p.m. 4 p.m., okay. 7 hours had passed since the beginning of the festivities, and even as the sun began to set, they showed no signs of slowing down. Lines had started forming in front of every food stand and restaurant around lunchtime, and they were all still packed. There were over 30 concerts from huge 1,000-seat venues with major artists to tiny little bars with only a dozen or so seats. Each one was standing room only. Guerrilla performance artists would approach the crowds, hoping to attract customers and in turn attract crowds of their own. Over 80,000 people were still in attendance at the festival, which had gone far beyond the organizers' wildest expectations. There was the usual issues associated with big events, like minor fights and lost children, but nothing major so far. The police from Shibuya Station helped keep things safe, but the biggest factor was the volunteer staff. The organizers had been recruiting volunteers up to the last minute to handle crowds, keeping everyone safe and in a mood to spend money. Many of the volunteers were victims of the original disasters, and the experience they'd gained in the earthquake taught them how to get along and work with other people. When a major band had made a surprise appearance at the stage in front of the 107, there was a mild panic, but the volunteers formed a wall to keep the people in the crowd safe. Alright. Today is the day to celebrate the restoration. We can't have anyone trampled to death. That's what the leader of the volunteers said to an interviewer who happened to be at the scene. He was an honest and sincere man. He was speaking from the heart, and he didn't mean anything more than what he'd said. Is this a real thing that happens? Do, like, mega famous bands just randomly show up and play concerts in the middle of a city? For free? The fuck? I don't think I've ever heard of that happening. But alright. We can imagine it. It's a magical festival. Free concerts for everybody. He was speaking from the heart and he didn't mean more than what he said. His words brought to mind a certain name and a certain face, both among the people who saw him on TV and among those who heard him directly. The word made them think of that name. That had made them think of that name was, of course, death.
なにあの人たち。
It's with those guys. I'm just looking at the weird ads because we haven't seen this picture before. Alright. What's with those guys?
あれだろう、朝からさ、ニュースでバンバンやってんじゃん。
Those are the guys the news has been talking about all day. Everyone there was hoping for the festival to succeed, but at the same time, they hadn't caused a big problem yet, but there was one big concern on everyone's minds. When a girl and her boyfriend left Shibuya Station and headed for the stage, at the cultural festival, they saw a group of people wearing eerie masks. There were over a dozen of them, and then another group came from another direction, and suddenly there were several dozen. Identical masks, identical t-shirts. The faces of two fat men overlapping. It was... the sumo stickers. It's these guys again. They said nothing. But anyone who got close, whether by accident or because they wanted to get a picture, would flinch away as they heard the eerie sound created as the sumos breathed beneath their masks. The man at the head of the group looked around and then approached a nearby streetlight. He took something out of his pocket and stuck it on the light. It was a sumo sticker. The owner of a nearby crepe stall saw this and frowned, but was too scared by their appearance to say anything. He quickly went back to dealing with his customer. It was something he'd seen again and again since the festival started. The only ones who saw it were people like him who stood in one place the whole day as they ran their businesses. The majority of attendees, caught up in the flowing crowds, saw nothing. But if you were to take all the stickers placed on the ground, on the decorations, on the streetlights, on the walls, you'd have enough to cover the huge TVs at Shibuya Scramble Crossing. The stickers were slowly taking over, spreading even to places where no one could see them. They were like a physical manifestation of all negative emotions that lurked within the attendees. It was about 3 hours later, around 7:30 a.m. or 7:30 p.m. when they finally exploded. It's like dark out and like 7:30 a.m., right? Right? It happened at the place that had been set up for the silent prayer that would end the festival. Right in front of the memorial. Can't see him move. Wait, seriously? It's him?
今すぐ死ねよ、死ね、人殺しが。
Son, murdered him.
宮代です。宮
Miyashiro, he's appeared in front of the memorial. A little after 9 p.m., Sarika arrived at Hikariwa. Most of the attendees had gone elsewhere, and it wasn't as busy as it had been earlier in the day. He looked around and listened to the thoughts of the passersby.
宮代うぜえ。あいつ本当にどっかで死ぬのかよ。逃げ出したんじゃねえの？
Man, fuck that Miyashiro guy. Is he really gonna kill himself somewhere? He didn't just run?
早くしてよね。死ぬにしても死なないにしてもこのままじゃ帰れないじゃん。
Oh, I hope he does it
でもいい
soon.
からさ。
I can't go home until I see whether he kills himself or not. Not that I care which, really. Who the fuck does this? Seriously, who the fuck actually goes? It's like, I heard someone's gonna kill themselves. I want to see them do it in real life, so I'm just gonna show up to a festival like an entire country away and be like, will this person kill themselves? I don't know where they will. It could be the entire... It could be anywhere in the entirety of like a major district in one of the biggest cities in the world, but okay. I'm just saying, it's like a little bit questionable. But alright, I just go home like, fuck it, I'm here for the festival and leave when I'm bored. I'm not gonna be here to see whether someone like, he could do anything. He could literally just jump off a fucking, he could jump off like the top of one of the buildings and it'd kill him, right? Like, it's not like he has to, like, there's so many ways for you to just randomly die here. Oh my goodness. You could die anywhere in Shibuya. Anyway. Who actually stays until they anyway. Fucking wrong-siders, man. Fucking wrong-siders. Sarika whispered as she listened to the worthless thoughts around her. The couple a few feet away glanced over at her and quickly turned away. Sarika closed her eyes so she could concentrate only on the thoughts around her. As of 9 p.m., all the concerts and street performances, as well as a few of the stalls, were closing up. The festival was nearing its end. After this, the attendees would gather at the specified time for the moment of prayer, and the festival would be over. The crowd seemed to be heading towards the station and the memorial. There were too many people here for them to all fit in the memorial plaza. So big VIPs, as well as the families of the victims of the quake, would gather at the memorial itself, while everyone else would watch the proceedings on the TV in front of the station.
佐久間は多分宮代を殺した後、慰霊碑前に遺体を晒すつもりだな。
Sakuma probably had plans to reveal Miyashiro's body at the memorial after he kills him, doesn't he? Both the TVs in front of the station and the memorial park were near the Hikaruo, but the park was just a little closer. Anything that happened at the park would be replayed for people watching on TV, right? In other words, more people would see it.
おそらくさっきの男もそのための道具。
The man from before was probably part of his plan. Several hours ago, she heard Miyashiro appeared in front of the memorial. She'd quickly learned, though, that this report was mistaken. It was a fake, a man pretending to be Miyashiro, who worshipped him as Messiah, but the man himself had looked nothing like Miyashiro. Yet for some reason, the media decided to report it as Takuru Miyashiro himself appearing at the memorial, and as a result, security around the park and plaza had been strengthened. As a result of that, another rumor was spreading this time that Miyashiro would be appearing there. It was almost certainly part of Sakuma's plot. Sarika opened her eyes and rubbed her stomach as if to check on her injury. It had been almost 24 hours since Sakuma had sliced open her stomach. She still wasn't in top shape. She'd lost a lot of blood, and there was a dull pain in her head that resulted from resisting Sakuma's powers. It would come back the second she let her guard down. And you're expecting to win this? Like, what? You're expecting to win this next round? This had been the result of her attacking him in top form last night. She'd survived working with the committee this long, so she couldn't shake her logical and very realistic doubts. Could she really kill it, Sakuma?
Miyashiro Takuru. Miyashiro Takuru.
Oh, someone's obsessively thinking about Takuru. What? A thought came into her mind and she frowned suspiciously. That's strange. She hadn't been trying to read anyone's mind. It was from somewhere in her field of vision.
出てこい。楽しませてくれ。
Who'd entertain me?
死ね死ね死ねかっこよく死
Die
ね
in a really cool way. Negative thoughts flowed into her mind, one after the other. They were strong and vast in number, as if someone combined all the final thoughts of all the people she had killed.
あいつらか。
It's those people. She forced herself to look in the direction of the thoughts and saw the group wearing the sumo sticker masks. She tried to squeeze them out of her mind, but they slipped past her and echoed in her head once more.
Miyashiro Takuru. Miyashiro Takuru.
Miyashiro Takuru.
出てこい。楽しませてく
Go
れ。
ahead, entertain me.
死ね死ね死ねかっこよく死ね
Die in a really cool way. Only strong thoughts and desires could create this effect. It was as if these feelings formed into one single strong emotion, a desire for Takuru Miyashiro to appear. For the first time in a long time, she was terrified. She could feel herself break out into a cold sweat. Her logical and realistic doubts vanished. It didn't matter if she was capable of killing him or not. She had to kill him. Miyashiro had to survive, and for that, Sakuma had to die. And
そろ
soon.
そろか。
It's about time, huh? She looked at her phone and saw it was past 9:30 p.m. Everyone in the theater had probably been let out. Shibuya, Hikaruo building, 11th floor. The entrance to the theater cube. This room was also the entrance to the office floor, and it was always crowded with people. But now there was no one here save a lone employee and a single security guard. The festival event in the theater had finished up at 9 p.m. and there was no other plans to use it.
似合わないな。
It doesn't seem quite right. The whole floor was lit up, giving it a classy design and elegant atmosphere. It didn't at all match what was about to happen inside the theater, because by the time this was over, one of them would be dead on the floor. Tarika stood in front of the convenience store on the floor and waited for the time to come. There was no sign of Sakuma. Then, a little after 10 p.m., she realized something was wrong. This? The employee and security guard at the front desk suddenly started to leave. They dropped what they were carrying and began to stagger out as if they weren't thinking about anything. Her eyes went wide and she immediately tried to read their minds. Felt a sharp pain in her head when she did. They really weren't thinking about anything. Not even the meaningless subconscious noise all humans produce. Nothing was ever like this. Nobody normal, that is. Mind control. The two of them walked to the escalator as if they were in a daze and then disappeared. Alright guys, we have our answer. In case anyone was wondering, he can in fact mind control two people at the same time, no problem. So just having backup there isn't going to help. Your backup somehow needs to be able to resist mind control. Alright. And she keeps assuming that she actually resisted the mind control, which is kind of funny. Like, we haven't seen any way to resist psychic powers directly, so... Alright, let's see. They walked over and it disappeared. Alright. All that was left was empty silence. He's well prepared. Yeah, he's well prepared, isn't he? Another violent pain struck her. This didn't make sense. They'd already vanished. There was no reason why she should be hearing their thoughts. Where was this heavy strain coming from? She felt something very strange in her mind and body. And then she saw her left hand slowly begin to move without her controlling it. Well, that was obvious. I don't know about you guys, but that was literally the most obvious thing I'd see. I was like, okay. She's waiting for a guy to show up who can mind control her from an infinite distance, who may or may not have mind controlled her at literally any point in her entire life, in preparation for this exact moment. Okay. Like, he could have done literally anything at any point. Oh, that's so sketch. Alright, so she got mind control. Surprising nobody. I'm not surprised, but I find it, I don't know what to say about that. I was gonna say, I'm sorry for her, but I'm not really sorry for her. I'm like moderately sorry. It's like moderately unfortunate she didn't know that she was mind controlled, but you could have just been mind controlled to not do that. Right? That's mind control for you. Not enough rules. Are we ready? We're ready. It's not gonna work. Yeah, everyone's ready to go. Everyone's ready to go. Shinjo was out of breath. He'd run back to Aoba dorm to take the place of the other officer, who I hadn't seen because I was in Uki's room. I could tell he'd literally been running around all day. Okay, I'm the only one who will be here for the next several hours. I gave false info to the media outside. There's no one here now. We can take the car and go.
宮代や有村はともかく、後で交代した時、山添や橘優斗がいなくなっていることをどう説明するつもりだ?
Miyashiro and Arimura are one thing. When the officer comes, how do you intend to explain Yamazoe and Yuto's absence? That was a good question. There's no way to hide that. It would be his fault if they went missing. I've learned how to change the subject by talking to you and Momose. Don't worry.
別にあんたの心配をしてるわけじゃない。あんたにはこの後もいろいろ動いてもらうことになるんだ。降格ならまだしも。
I'm not worried about your well-being. I have work planned for you after this. You can get demoted, but I can't have you being fired. See? This is how I learned. Shinjo sighed. Then Yuki came in with Yuto at her side and a worried look on her face. Oh. She slowly raised her hand. The other hand was clutching Yuto's tight. Yuto's eyes were still red and he wasn't looking good. Yuki seemed to be trying to hold him up. Where are we going?
ひとまずは秋葉だ。
Akihabara for now? Okay, what?
秋葉ってあの秋葉原ですか？
Akihabara, alright. Yeah. I've been sure we'd go somewhere less densely populated.
もっと遠くかと思ってました。
I thought we'd go further away.
秋葉には久野里さんの協力者がいる。
Kurosato is someone in Akihabara helping her. Jinjo looked at her. Someone helping her?
PC を使った情報収集という点においては私以上の腕を持つハッカーだ。ふざけた人物だがある程度の事情も知っている。
A hacker, better at finding information with a computer than I am. A weirdo, but he knows a bit about the situation. He'll put us up for a while. For some reason, Kunosato furrowed her brow and frowned.
それなりのマシンも融通してもらえることになっている。まあ、交換条件で何を言われるか分かったもんじゃないが。
He's giving us a fairly decent machine too, though who knows what he'll want in exchange. Jinjo seemed confused. Evidently, he hadn't met this helper of hers.
とにかく、ここからどれだけ離れるかは問題じゃない。渋谷という街を出ることが先決だ。一旦そこに留まって様子を見る。
What's important isn't how far away from here we go. What's important is getting out of Shibuya. We'll stay there for a while and see how things go. So, either Sakama is present and mind controlled those guys in the building, or he has like worms that activate it for a while. In which case, who knows what happens? I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll just not make any. I'll not make predictions because for all we know, there could be like a worm in their mind. So if they leave Shibuya, they have like a mental breakdown and die or some bullshit. Like they go insane, lose their minds. Who knows? We'll stay for a while and see if things go. All right.
ということだ。有村さんはどうした？
That's the deal. Where's Arimura?
あ、ノノの部屋で電話してます。
Nono's room on the phone.
そうか。
I see. Arimura said she was calling her family before she left. When she had taken her phone into Nona's room, she hadn't looked like a girl who was saying goodbye to her family, though. I always felt like she didn't want to talk about her family, and I hadn't brought the subject up. But I had a vague sense they weren't on good terms, but I didn't know anything else.
よし。有村さんの電話が終わったら行こう。
Once she's done, we'll go.
車は玄関に寄せてある。マスコミはしばらく大丈夫だと思うが、乗るときは一応用心してくれ。近所の目もある。
The car's by the front entrance. We won't have to worry about the media, but be careful when you get in. The neighbors might be watching.
ゆうとも連れて行きますか
I'm
ら。
taking Yuto too.
Eh?
Suddenly, Uki spoke up. He must have been nervous because she clutched his hand even tighter. He was acting strange, but it was also cute to see how much she cared. I couldn't help but smile. I looked at Shinju and saw his expression was much the same as
も
mine.
ちろん、最初からそのつもりだよ。いいかな、ゆうとくん。
Of course, that's the plan from the start. Is that okay, Yuto? Yeah. Yuto nodded, and then he looked at me.
タクル兄ちゃん、
Brother Takuru.
お父さんはどこにいるの？大丈夫なの？
Where's Dad? Is he okay? Say the obvious. I'm sure he's fucking fine. Or say it nicely. I'm sure he's fine. Suddenly, I didn't know what to say. The answer is he's fine because he's not dead. He's from your perspective, he's probably an evil monster, but objectively, he's fine. Suddenly, I didn't know what to say. Yuta didn't know anything about what was going on, nor did Uki, who was looking at me and expecting an answer. It hurt to see how worried they looked. All I could do was tell myself I couldn't make it any better.
後で話すよ。
I'll tell you later.
あとっていつ？
Later?
秋葉原について落ち着いたら。
Once we get to Akihabara, it'll be later. Perfect. I guess he said once it gets settled in, but fuck, just say like when you get there. I could tell Yuto was struggling with his feelings. I need a drink. Alright. Now it was his turn to grasp Uki's hand tightly.
わかった。絶対だよ。
Okay. As long as you promise.
あ、ほら、荷物取ってきな。
Go get your things.
うん。
Okay. Two of them must have felt the same way as they went to their rooms, still holding each other's hands. Shinjo looked at me with a pained expression.
大丈夫です。
It's fine. Of course that was a lie, but Shinjo was nice enough not to say anything.
新庄さん、一つ確認したいことがある。
Shinjo, I want to check one last thing. Kunasato stared at the hallway where Uki and Yuto had just left as she spoke. I could tell from the way she was acting it had something to do with Dad.
2時間半くらい前か。慰霊碑公園に宮代拓の名を語った狂言者が出ただろう。
But 2.5 hours ago, someone appeared at the memorial park claiming to be Miyashiro, right?
Oh.
Yeah, fake. I'd remember the news I'd seen on my tablet. The TV news and Twitter had all been talking about how I appeared at the memorial park. Of course, that was a lie. I was right here.
厳重注意くらいで。明日には釈放か。
I assume he'll be off with a warning and released tomorrow?
その予定だが。
That's the plan.
そいつには悪いが、別件でも何でも構わない。数日間、交流しておいてくれないか。
I feel sorry for him, but can you do whatever it takes to keep him locked up for a few more days? Shinjo seemed to know what he was getting at. He looked out at the hallway too.
佐久間の仕掛けだと。
You think Sakuma sent him? He nodded.
タイミング的には、狂言者なんていくら湧いてもおかしくないが。
The timing is such, any number of fakes could appear, but...
仮にも、宮代拓になりきろうとした人間だ。何の工夫もなく名前だけを語ったのが気になってな。宮代との違いなんて、遠目からでも一発でわかるはずだろ。
It worries me, a man trying to be Takuru Miyashiro didn't even make the slightest effort to look like him. Even at a distance, you should have been able to tell it was a different guy. It's true, he wasn't a Chaos Child Syndrome patient, Shinjo said. That's confusing. When I'd seen the man on my tablet, his height and age had been mostly the same as mine. From a distance, it would have been hard to tell us apart. What did Chaos Child Syndrome have to do with it when that was just a type of PTSD?
できれば、そいつのここを調べてみたい。
I'd like to know more about him if I can. Kunasato tapped at her temples.
わかった。なんとかしてみよう。
Got it. I'll work something out. It was strange to see how easily Shinjo agreed to keep an innocent man locked up.
そろそろ出発しよう。有村さんにもそう伝えてくれ。
Time to go. Tell Arimura. Alright. They're leaving. He pointed at the clock before I could ask any questions. It was 10 p.m.
はい。荷物はもうまとめてありますから。
Yeah, I've got all our things ready. They're leaving at an inauspicious time, I'd say. Huh? I opened the door to Nona's room to tell Arimura it was time to go, but there was no one there. The lights were off too. Was she done talking on the phone? Which would mean she was having Kazuki get the last of the things together. She'd be in the dining room or Uki's room? Kind of think of it.
結局、和樹を最後まで付き合わせちゃったな。
Guess we got Kazuki involved in all this too. She wasn't involved in this case directly, but she was helping a lot because she was a member of the newspaper club. I couldn't ask her to come with us. While we'd been waiting for Shinjo, she'd tried to tell us she'd come too, of course, using only a series of mumbles and gestures like always. I refused, though I was grateful from the bottom of my heart. She seemed unsatisfied, but I'd finally gotten her to agree by promising to keep in touch and to come straight to her if we needed help. I couldn't cause any more trouble for someone who wasn't part of the case.
当事者。
Part of the case, huh? I was suddenly conscious of the smells in Nona's room. Without bothering to turn on the lights, I shut the door behind me and walked over to her desk. Aren't we in like a rush to go before someone dies, or potentially the bad guy comes back and murders us? Alright, take your time. Explore the room. Be sentimental. Alright. I ran my hand along it, and only then did I realize it was the first time I'd been in here since her death. That's right, Nono wasn't supposed to be a part of the case.
なんでだジョーちゃんは幸せにならなきゃいけねえ子だろうがよ。
Aw, poor Gan. Why? She's one of those people who deserves to be happy in life. I knew that. He was right. She wasn't supposed to die. There was no reason she deserved to die. She was simply killed because she'd learned Sarika's secret. Oh no, eh? What was her real goal? I remembered what Kunasato had asked me this afternoon. What was she really after? I almost screamed as I heard a loud noise from inside my bag. The sound of my phone vibrating. I quickly flipped over the bag and spilled its contents into the floor. Okay, this guy. I don't know what's with this guy. Put your phone in your pocket, you dumb shit. So you don't have to, like, dump your bag on the floor to find your phone. I picked the phone up off the floor and read the words unlisted caller in the darkness. That's kind of creepy. I didn't have a good feeling about this. Afraid I touched the answer button.
誰
Okay.
だ
Oh look, I predicted his line. Who's there?
一つ言い忘れたことがあってな。
There's something I forgot to tell you.
お前
You. I moved the phone away from my ear in surprise. It was Sarika, there's no mistaking it. I checked the time on the phone without even thinking about it. 10:03.
話を聞け。すぐに終わる。
Listen carefully, this won't take long.
なんでお前
Why are you? I realized how hard my heart was beating. I put the phone back up to my ear.
そんなことはどうで
Doesn't
も。
matter. I heard a sudden abrupt noise. Had she dropped her phone or had something happened? I listened carefully so as to not miss a single sound. My hands were trembling violently, I hated it. And after I waited a moment...
宮代、聞いているか？
Shira, are you listening? Her voice was somehow weak and feeble. Something was off about the way she was acting.
聞いてるなんだよ
I'm listening. What is it?
一つ言い忘れたことがあってな。
There's something I forgot to tell you. It was the same thing she just said.
おいどうしたんだなんか
Oh, hey, what's wrong? What?
お前の両親を殺したのは私だ。
I was the one who killed your parents. Okay. I could hear the sound of the words she made, but I couldn't understand the meaning of the words themselves. For some reason, my hand stopped shaking, and it suddenly seemed like everything around me faded away into a white blur. What? The words were stuck in my throat. I couldn't speak.
6年前、渋谷地震の時、あの避難所で、お前の実の両親を殺したのは私なんだ。
6 years ago, during the Shibuya earthquake, I was the one who killed your parents at that shelter. What is this, like the Batman origin story? Alright. Only orphans can get psychic powers? Oh wait, he actually already had his, The psychic powers always kill your parents? Like every other superhero gets their fucking... every friggin' hero and every single character in, like, a comic has fucking, like, parent problems, but here we are, reading a book, and it's like, your parents are dead, and you're like, oh, the classic parent's dead, and it's like, oh, yeah, here we go. I killed your parents. You're like, really? Every single story with dead parents. It's always somehow relevant to the plot. Alright. Sarika murdered our parents, probably to get us adopted by the creepy guy. Alright. By Asakama, or Sakuma. Alright, thanks. Once again, I could hear the words, but I didn't understand them. 6 years ago, Shibuya earthquake shelter, real parents.
Huh?
What? My cheeks suddenly felt hot, and my blurry vision came into focus in the dark room. Only then did I realize what she said. But what I felt wasn't rage.
なんで
Why? It was an important event from my past, but one I'd totally forgotten. My parents hadn't died in the earthquake. Someone had murdered them at the shelter. It was what Nono had refused to tell me when I'd just woken up from my coma. Would have been nice to know that Sarika murdered them. Thanks, Nono. And Nono's a real bitch. Now we don't... It's like, wow, the person who killed our parents is a serial killer. You don't say. Shit, man. That's why she lied to me and why I had ran from Alba Dorm and gone to live in Miyashita Park.
なんで
Why? I repeated. Why would she do that? Why would she tell me that now? All I could hear was her pained breathing. I kept waiting anyway. I couldn't hang up the call.
今、伝えなければいけなかった。
I had to tell you now.
言い忘れていたんだ。
I forgot to tell you.
だから
But why?
なんでなんだよ
I yelled at Sarika as she repeated herself. And she hangs up.
おいお前
Oh, he's doing that again. Hey, Inoue, Inoue! You can see the fact that it says call ended. Why are you still yelling at the phone? Suddenly the call ended. She hung up. Alright. I tried to call back and realized it was impossible. It was an unlisted number. The hell's going on? I whispered, knowing I wouldn't get an answer. Where's Arimura? Really, what the hell? What's the point of calling me like that? No, there's a bigger question. Why was Sarika born? That day I happened to meet my parents at the shelter, and I had a terrible headache. It was probably when Sarika was born. And then my parents were murdered at the shelter, which would mean she murdered them the night after I created her? My thoughts were a mess. It was hard to think out, but something told me I had to figure this one out. Sarika said her goal was to keep me alive, but how would killing my parents help with that? Mom and Dad were trying to get me out of the shelter. Killing them would make me less likely to survive, not more. Just like Kunosada said, it didn't make sense. That's right. What Sarika was saying didn't make sense. The very first thing she'd done after being born didn't make sense, which meant her real goal isn't to keep me alive. Suddenly I found myself looking at the picture on my phone. It was a photo of me and my family from Alba Dorm. It was the same as what happened with Nono. Sure, she figured out who Sarika was, but if Sarika's goal was keeping me alive, would that mean killing Nono? Nono would always try her best to protect me. She'd even risk her life to do so, which would mean that for Sarika it would be better to keep her alive. Yeah, it's super inconsistent. I don't know why killing half her family keeps you alive. They didn't even know that Nono was psychic. But she axed her, not because she was psychic, because she wanted to fucking kill someone who knew her secret. It's a really dumb statement. But hey, we're still going. We're going with the idea that that's not actually her real goal. We've been rolling with that for a while, I feel, so. What is her reason for... What is her purpose? Is she just a regular person? Does she hate us because we made her and didn't give her a purpose? Has she been mind-controlled for her entire existence because she was seen being created by, like, the mind control guy, and he's like, oh, a new existence. Boop, mind control. You're mine now. And I need this for my devious plan to, like, murder people in 6 years or some shit. Yeah. She could have done what they done with Ito and used mind control to alter her memories about her real identity. That would have been a neat trick, too. But why didn't she? Why did she have to kill Nono? Had to kill someone on that day. Apparently. Did she have some other goal? Was that why she had to take Nona's life? If that was the case, then I could feel a certain desire welling up in me, one I hadn't felt in a long, long time. I'd find out why. And I'd find out if my ridiculous idea was true. And for that to happen, I have to go there, no matter how things end up. Am I serious about this? I checked the time on my phone again. Okay, if you think for a second Sarika isn't working with you and is working against you here, you should tell them to get the fuck out of the house, but not go to Akihabara and not fucking take the family car. Holy shit. Like, is no one gonna check this for a car bomb or some shit? 10:10 p.m. 7 minutes later, apparently. There were 18 minutes left until the moment when everything began. Alright, what are you playing, buddy? I laughed a little and ran my hand along Nona's desk again. Was I betraying her? Again? If she was still alive, would she have slapped me across the face if she found out about it? I'm sorry, but you know, you did it too. Yeah, in fact, you're the first. No, first to lie. New title, alright. You lied too in the end. You lied to protect me. So I'm gonna do the same. Because this is about you and you mean everything to me. She's dead. Alright. This is about the reason why you died. I need to know the truth. I was lying when I said I didn't. Of course, thinking about what I was about to do terrified me, but I wasn't going to change my mind no matter what. Surprisingly, it was Arimura, not Nono, who slapped me. She hit me so hard, the impact traveled all the way to my ears and made them ring. Damn, she'd deliver a mean right hook if she was trying to actually hit you. Don't be stupid. Who do you think you're trying to impress?
何笑ってるんです？
What are you laughing at?
いや、
You're
やっ
right.
ぱりそうだよな。
Yeah. I put my hand to my cheek where she had struck me, and it felt a little hot. I laughed because it hadn't hurt as hard as when Nono did it. Nono was used to slapping people's cheeks after all. Maybe it was that she was just really strong, but Arimura seemed to think I was laughing more because I wasn't worried at all. Her shoulders shook more violently with rage.
危険すぎます。向こうが何を企んでるのかわからないん
It's
で
too
すよ。
dangerous. You don't know what they're planning.
話を聞きに行くだけだ。多分大丈夫だと思う。
I'm gonna go hear what she has to say. I think it's fine.
そんな嘘つかないでください。
You know that doesn't work.
私に
You've
嘘が通じな
been
いの
down this road like 3
わかってるでしょ？
times, buddy. You can't act for shit. You're just gonna get murdered by someone who can act eventually. Armor was out of breath and seriously angry. She was worried about me. Like, you have to get other people to beat the bad guy for you, man. You can't actually fight him competently. Uki and Yuto were standing next to her looking worried. I leaned down so I was at their height.
安心してくれ。話を聞きに行くだけっていうのは本当だから。
Don't worry, it's true. I'm just gonna hear what she has to say.
でもその先は嘘だろう。お前は多分殺される。
Okay, after the lie, right? You're probably going to be killed?
久野里さん。
Kunosada. Of course I knew that. There was a good chance I'd be killed, and Dad would be the one who killed me. But I wish she wouldn't say it in front of Uki and Yuto.
お前は喧嘩すらしたことがない。違うか？
You've never been in a fight, am I wrong?
はい。
Yeah, but...
でも。
Wait, are you wrong? Yes, he hasn't been in a fight. Alright, I had to go. My head knew it was stupid, my heart was filled with terror. But there was something even deeper that drove me
ク
forward.
ルス先輩はそんなこと絶対に望んでない。
Cruz wouldn't want that, I know it. Alright.
ウキから手紙のこと聞いたんです。
Uki told me about the letter.
そっか。
I see.
クルス先輩の気持ち踏みにじるんですか？
Are you just gonna forget about what she wanted?
そうだな。
Right, she'd
あいつきっと怒ると
be
思う
really
けど。
mad. Yep, I agree. She'd probably be irritated, but she's also a liar all the time. I don't know why she'd make you promise and you'd be expected to uphold it. Especially if it's just like a request, not a promise you made to anyone. She'd probably slap me hard across the face like Arimura did. And yet, things were going so much better for us when we weren't doing whatever Nono said. Remember when we got convinced by the fact Nono didn't want us investigating and let 2 people die? Remember that? Remember when our sister died because of that? That was a great time. That was a great time.
でも、僕は行くよ。
I'm going anyway, boys. Armor looked like she was about to raise her hand again. Then she stopped, clenched it into a fist, and lowered it. Her eyes were a little red as she glared at me.
なんでそんな。
Why?
ごめん。
Sorry. Her voice was soft, so soft I could barely hear it. I lowered my head, unable to even look at her.
ウキとユウトのこと、頼むな。
Take care of Uki and Yuto, okay?
知りません。先輩は長男でしょ。ちゃんと帰ってきて自分でお兄ちゃんをやってください。
It's not my problem. You're the eldest, right? You need to come back safe and be their big brother. Well, you're terrible, she whispered as she left the room. Oh, someone suddenly waved something in front of my face and I leapt back. Kazuki had come up next to me. I wasn't sure when. He always surprised me like this.
お前、
You're still here?
まだいたのか。
I wonder if there's a Kazuki route. I can't leave you all here, her face seemed to say. She was holding a piece of candy on a stick. A lollipop? How many of these did she have? I couldn't refuse her, so I took it and put it in my pocket. I'd probably never eat it, though.
最後まで付き合わせて悪いな。ウキたちのことを見送ってやってくれ。そうしたら気をつけて帰れよ。
Keep an eye on Uki and Yuto until they go, and then take care. I didn't think she'd do it, but I didn't want her going with the 2 of them. I feel terrible for her family if that happened. She nodded like she always did. I tried to make sure that was a yes, but before I could, she ran into the room after Arimura. Kunosada was here too, so it'd be okay, right? She'd make it home, right?
Takuru兄ちゃん
Takuru? Yuto spoke up, afraid, as he saw me watch her go. To be honest, I wasn't sure what to say. Anything I said felt like it would just make him more nervous. I tried to choose my words carefully, but in the end, this is all I could come up with.
行ってくる。後で必ずユウトたちと合流するから。
I'm leaving. I'll catch up with you guys later. Ah, famous last words, buddy. I could tell from his face that he realized it was one of the white lies adults often tell children, but he didn't say anything. He just looked at me with eyes that were redder than Arimura's.
いってらっしゃい待ってますから
Goodbye, we'll be waiting for you.
Ah.
Yeah.
ずっと待ってますから
Wait as long as it takes.
Ah.
Yeah.
僕も待ってるずっと
I'll be waiting too, as long as it takes.
Ah.
Yeah. Maybe Uki's hand on him gave him strength, because he finally forced himself to say one last thing. I'm sorry, Yuto. Thanks, Uki.
じゃあ、行ってくれ。
Well, I'm off. I checked the time. There wasn't much time left, and if I stayed any longer, my resolve would begin to waver. I nodded one last time at the two of them and then turned around. It was decided that Shinjo would drive me to the Hikariwo. I wanted him to take the others to Akihabara as soon as possible, but I didn't see how I could get through the area around Shibuya Station on my own.
Miyashiro.
Sure. As I left to get the car, Kunosato called to me from behind.
スマホは持っているな。
You got your phone, right? I put my hand in my pocket to check. Of course, it was there. It's in his pocket for once. I do, why?
何でもいい。もし委員会の情報を手に入れたら、すぐに連絡しろ。
If you find anything on the committee, no matter what, contact me immediately. I chuckled. That's exactly what I expected her to say. I didn't know if I'd find anything, but I promised I would.
尾上からは、お前を渋谷から脱出させるよう言われている。
Onoe told me to get you out of Shibuya.
それを承諾したのは、能力者を渋谷から出せば委員会に近づけるという。
I agreed because she told me if I got the psychics out of Shibuya, it would get me closer to the committee.
はい。
Yep.
かといって、お前自身がそれに逆らう決断をするのなら、それを止める義理はない。別に、お前にこだわる必要はないんだからな。
But if you decide not to go,
山添や有村さえいれば、それでいい。
If you decide not to go, there's no reason for me to stop you. I have no special need for you in particular. As long as I have Yamazoe and Arimura, that's enough.
ねえ、そうですね。
Yeah, that's right. He was correct. If getting a psychic out of Shibuya would cause something to happen, Uki and Arimura would do just as well as I would.
だから、お前のことは待たないぞ。
So we're not waiting for you, okay? Her words seemed to be testing my resolve one last time. So I looked her dead in the eye and answered,
構いません。分かってますから。
That's fine, I understand. But for a while after that, she said nothing. She seemed to be, for once, at a loss for words. Okay, we had 15 minutes. We had a full conversation with 2 people and walked outside. Shit, man. There's no way we're gonna make it anywhere. 15 fucking in less than 10 minutes. Shit. Go on, man. She seemed to be, for once, at a loss for words. I frowned. Did she not like that answer?
何か?
Is something wrong?
お前のさっきの話だがな。
About what you were saying before. She finally opened her mouth hesitantly. She was probably talking about the call I got from Sarika. When she told me she was the one who killed my parents.
それが事実だとするなら。
That's true.
何ですか?
What? Did you figure something out?
思い当たることでも。
いや。
Kunosato probably found Sarika's words strange, just like I did. It didn't make sense. Kunosato probably had a theory of her own, and one she was reluctant to share. But in the end, she put her hand on my shoulder without saying a word. What? We're getting a custom shop for this? Really? Okay. Until now, all she'd ever done was grab me or choke me, so I was surprised. I never expected this.
どのみち、お前が確かめるべきことだ。せいぜい悔いのないようにするんだな。
Either way, you should find the answer for yourself. Make sure whatever you do, you don't regret it. And the words she said were different than usual, too. Kunosato was saying something nice to me? A psychic?
なんだ
What? What? No,
Yes,
well, see, I was so surprised I'd said something I shouldn't have.
どうせならケイさんの締めの一言でお願いしま
I'd
す。
rather you send me
リスナーだったん
send
で
me
す。
off with the last goodbye from Kay. I was a
ふ
listener.
ざけるな情報操作の放送以外で
There we
あん
go.
な八方美人な人間を演じるのはごめんだとっとと行け
Hell no. I refuse to play the role that goody goody suck up when I'm not trying to manipulate information. Get going. She pushed me away with a hand she placed on my shoulder. I suddenly felt embarrassed. Why had I said that? I was so embarrassed I tried to hurry into the car. Kunosato looked at me and said,
どうしても聞きたい
Oh shit, I skipped that.
どうしても聞きたいなら次の放送まで待つんだな
If you really want to hear Kay again, wait till the next broadcast. I turned around and looked her in the face one more time. Her features were elegant. Her beautiful almond-shaped eyes were always frozen cold, but they never betrayed what she was really thinking. Shit. Her personality was as cool as ice, befitting a dedicated scientist, always willing to do whatever it took to achieve her goal, regardless of the cost. But sometimes I got a glimpse of some burning passion inside her. She really was a mysterious girl. Oh, right. One last thing I had to ask her. Since this might be my last chance.
なんだ人の顔をじっと見て
Why are you staring at me?
久野里さんは何の能力を持ってるんですか？
Kunosato, what's your power?
なんだと
What? The distance between us started to shrink, but it grew back with that one question. I felt all the air around me freeze. I panicked.
だって見たんですよ。久野里さんの部屋で。
I mean, I saw it in your room.
何をだ
Saw what?
ディソードです。
A D
あ
sword.
れ
That
は
was
久野
yours,
里
right?
さんのものでしょう。
は
Wait a minute. Those are very. Those are very much. Wait, almond shaped. It said almond shaped, right? Almond shaped eyes. These are like round with a point. Interesting almonds. Alright. Huh? Just as I thought, things between us would end with another series of cold insults from her, Kunosato started to laugh. She kept laughing in a low voice as I stood there with my mouth hanging open. All I could do was stand there and watch. I didn't know Kunosato could laugh like that.
お前本当に真のギガロマニアックスなのか本物と偽物の区別もつかないとはな
Are you really a gigalomaniac? You can't even tell the difference between a real and a fake?
偽物？
A fake?
あれはただのレプリカだ研究用のな6年前の資料を取り寄せてアメリカの私の研究室が作った
It's just a replica for research purposes. My lab in America made it off some documents from 6 years ago.
ばらつきがあるにしろディラックの海とのパイプがなぜ剣という形を取るのか
I was an attempt
そ
to
の解
find
明を
out
しようとしたが
why.
無駄だった
Even if the shapes vary, all the pipes to the Dirac
廃
Sea
棄されたガラクタを押し付け
take
ら
the
れた
form
わ
of
け
the
だ
sword. It didn't work though, so they gave me the useless piece of junk.
あんなもの邪魔になって仕方ないがまあ物干し代わりに使っている
It's no good for anything but taking up space, but I do use it as a way to hang things dry. Oh, and then she laughed again. After she was done laughing, she pushed me into the car.
ああそうだお前の同級生伊藤だったか
Oh right,
あ
your
いつはなん
classmate
とか
Ito,
助
was
かり
it?
そうだぞ
You look like you'll survive. Oh, great.
忘れてるようだがそれと引き換えにお前は私の実験台になると誓った
You seem to have forgotten, but you promised to be my guinea pig in exchange.
その約束戻ってきて
Come back
ちゃ
and
んと
keep
果
your
たせよ
promise. Then she closed the door. I nodded from behind the window and mouthed the words, "Thank you for everything." Everyone really was trying to make me feel better. Everyone really did want to see me again, but now I was going down a path that meant that might never happen. We're going solo, no backup. Without the ability
静か
to
だな。
into our final showdown with Sakuma. I'm sure this can only end well. But I'm afraid we might have to find out where things go next time.